fade up. So in 3, 2, 1, live.
And it's all happening. There we go. We're on. Mickey D at the helm. Hey everyone, welcome to That Pedal Show, VCQ Live. It is Monday, the 26th of July. Yes, hope you're all awesome. Let's have a quick roll call and see where everyone is hailing from. That would be wonderful. Brilliant. A couple of announcements real quick. I want to have a massive shout out to our production manager, Laura, and her husband, Chris. They have announced that they are with Fabi, with a small infant that's going to be here at some point after Christmas, which is great. So, yeah, congratulations, Laura. Really pleased for you guys.
Congratulations, Laws.
Yeah,
and
that's
Chris.
Awesome. And also, a quick shout out to our dear friend, Mr. John Ackenbach, who, after 20 plus years, is leaving The Simpsons.
No way.
He's been offered a job doing some directing for the new Beavis and Butthead film. And and then he's off to do some more stuff with them. Yeah, so that's awesome. Yeah, we had the we were at NAMM, we had the Metallica shirt, and a handful of people got that.
Yes.
It was brilliant.
A whole handful.
Yep.
Hello from Toronto, says Dwayne Jessam.
Ah.
Carl Longbottom is on. Away the lads.
Away the lads.
Away, Carl Pat. Yes, it's fine to post the video, Carl. Sorry, I didn't answer your Instagram message. Andrew Smith, hello from Slough.
Jacob Bartel, hello from Napa.
I know it's really called Slough. I call it Slough.
Sluch.
Hello from Austria, says 1985, Mr. Al.
Mr. Michael Gola says, greetings from Maryland, USA.
Wyatt Knox says, awesome, I'm finally going to see one of these live.
Oh, awesome.
Strap yourself in, Wyatt.
Yeah, you're in for a wild ride.
You're in for, well, a rip-roaring.
The crowd goes mild. This was interesting, actually. Nick Harrington says, good morning from Nanaimo, BC. He says, no B-Bender telly on Friday. So disappointed. B-Benders, yes. Well,
could you try again?
No, that's enough out of you. So, yes.
Sure, I understand.
Oh, power down.
You don't understand because you're a bot.
Yeah, so B-Bender Telecasters, which is so interesting, and we didn't have a thin line on either. Two guitars we simply don't have at the
Have
moment.
you ever owned a B-Bender guitar?
Never owned a B-Bender guitar.
I had a G&L ASAT Classic with B and G benders.
Really?
Yeah. I chanced by the guitar.
Sorry, was that the strap bender or the hip bender thing?
It was one on that strap and one on that strap, B and G.
So you go,
And
bing.
when I had my little 2008 financial meltdown, I had to sell it along with all the rest of my possessions.
No.
And I bitterly regret not having that guitar anymore.
Wow.
That was a really special guitar, that.
They are fascinating
I
instruments.
couldn't play it for toffee, but...
Yeah, but that thing that you play and then you push down on the neck, that whole mechanism is genius. Absolute genius.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cleft Turnip, first time seeing this live, 2 a.m. in Australia. Hello.
Ah, g'day, mate.
Hello. Hello from Scotland, says Hot Black Desiato. Mind you, it's been very sunny of late, so it might not be Scotland after all.
Stephen Thomas says hello from York, and Elsinore says hello from Seattle. Have you been to Seattle?
I have not.
No, I've just seen pictures of
Negatory.
it on the Negatory, good buddy, Negatory. Just seen pictures of some ball on a tower thing in Seattle. That's all I know about it.
Yeah.
And Bertha Grunge.
Fraser was from Seattle, maybe?
Baby, I hear the blues are calling, tossed salad and scrambled eggs. I can sing that because of the hat.
Hello from Albuquerque. Albuquerque, says Adam D. Hello. We should say thank you to BV Ninja.
Yes, BV, you
As
legend.
always, for kindness beyond comprehension in many cases for continuing to moderate the TPS VCQ live feed. Apparently there are lots of bots on the go this week, Dan.
Really?
Yeah, I wonder if it's something Olympic related. Apologies, we're not wearing our beach bikinis as well. We decided to make a stand and we're going to wear shorts.
Yep.
If you haven't picked up on that story today, the Norwegian beach volleyball team, it's a really, really great story. And just astounding in this day and age that you have to wear a bikini to play beach volleyball if you're a woman.
And Pink stepped in.
And Pink stepped in and said she'll pay the fines, carry on wearing the shorts.
Man.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, didn't mean to be political, but I was astounded.
Micah Stowe, hello from Wyoming.
Hello from Wyoming. Hello to Wyoming. From the Badlands of Wyoming. Bruce Springsteen. Stephen Thomas, hello from York. Hello to York.
Pal Saul says, hi from Szczecin, Poland.
Ah, hello to Poland.
Hello to Poland.
I just started following an awesome Polish drummer
Really?
called, I can't remember her name, just utterly killer drummer.
Wow.
She was guesting on something that somebody else played, and I was like, yes.
I think I've seen her.
Yeah.
She's yeah. Mind blowing.
Yeah.
Howling Man says, hey guys, I love the show. Hello from Utah.
Jamie Barr, hello from Cumbernauld.
Magic Man says, hello from Sacramento, CA.
Cumbernauld is interesting. That's where we pay our taxes
Really?
quite regularly.
Cumbernauld. Yes, Magic Man, thank you, and hello back, and hope we're getting news of all the smoke that's covering everything in a thick blanket of smoky smoke.
Where?
Right across the states, actually.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's pretty full on.
Something on fire? Or...
There's been loads of fires. And,
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Scenes from New York at the moment are, even it's gone from coast to coast. Oh, we had, in Australia growing up, loads of bushfires, and when that smoke settles, you wake up in the morning, there's ash on your car and all that stuff. It's really full on.
That's as if nearly 2 years of COVID hasn't been bad.
Yeah.
enough.
Let's throw some. Yeah.
Yeah, Blacktooth Fox, up from the New Forest.
Oh, lovely. Mike, hello from Los Angeles.
Excellent.
Sob Rocker 1980 says, afternoon dudes from Guildford. That's got to be, I wonder if that's Lee or Pete sort of going in anonymous as Sob Rocker.
Could be.
Bulk Hogan says, hell yeah, brothers. Rock on. Bulk, that's very good. Paul Gatt, hello from Lismore.
Daniel Pines wants to know, Dan, what tubes should he put in his matchless? NOS? He's actually got a bad cat, but what tubes do you use in your matchless? I think he's talking about front end here, because he says NOS question mark, EF86 question mark.
Okay, so if the EF86, the 12AX7s, there's, as long as you get decent ones, I mean, we never, it's a, what do you call it when you buy cheap, buy twice type thing, buy decent 12AX7s, they'll always work well, but EF86s, there's a, if you buy a really good EF86, you'll be glad you did, because they're a valve that gets microphonic very quickly. There's loads of gain in them. They're working hard. So, spend a bit of extra money on getting a decent EF86 valve. I found a few old Mullard, sort of old military stock, CV, forget the actual the number, but yeah, these old Mullard military EF86s, and they're really good. They last a long time. But the matchless, because it runs, it's sort of like an old Vox in the way it's running on the edge. So, if you're playing it loud and you get those valves working, every 6 months or so you'll need to change them out. But we haven't been playing loud and consistently for a long time, and so I've still got the original valves that were in there. They're still great and it's a couple of years on now, I guess.
I would also ask Bad Cat what they recommend, because it is the case with new valves that the amp sometimes can be designed around a specific
Totally.
type of preamp tube because of the way they're made now. So it might be that they have a recommendation that you use.
Yep, that's a really good shout.
Yeah. NOS, there's a lot of kerfuffle about NOS. Not all NOS tubes are good. A lot of NOS tubes would have had to have gone through the same selection and grading and matching process, or at least grading process, that any new valve would have had to go through. So it's not to say that just because it's old it's going to be any good.
Some old things are awesome.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. Good. Right, let's get into the old cues then, shall we, Daniel?
Indeed.
Blah, 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 blah. Refresh, he said. I think a collective round of applause for Daniel's playing on Friday.
Thank you. That's very kind. I immediately got out of here, put on some the Steve Gadd band, and of course you've got Landau in there. It's just sort of that puts everything back in perspective for me. Yeah, take it. I take it. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
There's that fateful point. I think I said something along the lines of, Dan, I think you should just play something Dan style on the Telecaster, and he just went, okay. And everyone went. It was amazing. It was really good. Really good. As is reflected in the comments this week. Plexico. He says, hello Plexico. He says, hi DNM. Well, that show on Friday cost me. I bought a Fender LE George Harrison telly.
Oh wow!
Chambered rosewood. Any insights on this one? Thank you, says Duncan.
Oh wow. Okay, I've only played an original. Were the originals chambered?
I actually don't know.
Okay, because I remember picking it up and it wasn't crazy. It wasn't as heavy as I thought it would be for like a solid rosewood guitar. But there's rosewood and there's rosewood, right? It has, all the things that we discussed on Friday, all those telly elements are there. I think...
Apparently the production ones were chambered.
The word chambered, okay, that makes sense. So from what I remember of that
According
guitar...
to Mr. Google. Or Miss Google.
It was...
Or they Google.
It's a very tight sounding instrument. Shall I say, it's more red than butters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very, very tight sounding guitar. But it was a wonderful, wonderful sounding thing.
Yeah, I've played a couple, but I can't ever remember thinking, wow, that sounds this or that.
Right.
Or this or that. Congratulations on the guitar, Duncan. Hope you
well
really
done,
enjoy
mate.
it.
That's amazing.
Jacob Bartel, hi Jacob. He says, good evening, guys. Absolutely loved the telly show on Friday. How could you make two ODDs parallel if it doesn't do it itself? Also, have a libation or coffee on me. Well, thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
So two ODs, how do you make them parallel if it can't do it itself?
Okay, so can we have your hands as the OD pedals, please?
Yes.
Okay, OD1, guitars. So the guitar's going in through mix elbow into this OD1, and then that goes into OD2, and the back out here, amplify this side. So that is in series. We've got one pedal plugged into the next one. To make them parallel, there we go. What we need to do, at the moment, you see how we've got one signal going in here. We need to join or split the signal from here.
I'm not cutting my hand off.
And join the inputs. And then here, we need to then join the output. So what we need at the start is a splitter that splits the signal. And then what you need to do at the end of both of the outputs of the overdrive pedals is join them back up. So we need to mix those signals back together. And there's a number of different ways that you can do it, from really simple. For example, if you have a look at when I built the Frankenstein delay board, and JHS has splitters and mixers and little mixer, these little boxes. Really simple, really effective. And if you want to try parallel stuff, it's a great way to do it. If you want to be able to blend those signals and change the phase on the output, because don't forget, if you've got two parallel overdrive pedals, if the circuit of one of those pedals flips the phase and then you join them together, you've got two out of phase signals. So if they're in phase, they will sum and the signal will be louder. If they're out of phase, then you'll have phase cancellation. Frequencies will cancel each other out and it'll be much quieter.
Which, of course, doesn't matter if they're in series because it all comes in on one phase.
Yep.
And if it flips it, it doesn't matter because you're not mixing anything with anything. It's when they're same as having two amps.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So, the simplest way to do it is have a split and then mix them back in afterwards. But then there are more complex ways that you can do it where you can change the phase and mix and all that stuff.
What Dan's trying not to say is buy his device called the Wetter Box, which will do it for you.
Yeah, or the JHS split and some boxes are fantastic. A number of different ways. But parallel is really, really fun. I love messing with parallel. It's a great way to find unique overdrive tones.
Indeed.
Yep.
1985 Mr. Owl. 1985 Mr. Owl says, gents, thank you for a most enjoyable show on Friday. On tellies. Question, I'm after a delay for slapback. I have a memory boy, but I can't justify the board space. Any advice for slapback in a sensible sized box?
Yeah, okay. The little red Ibanez
Yes.
one.
Yeah. The Ibanez AD9 Mini, I think
That's
it's
the one?
called. Which isn't in here, it's out there somewhere.
Okay. There you go. Okay. The Immortal Echo from J Rocket. Wonderful.
There is a carbon copy Mini.
Is there?
I believe so. Is there? I could be making that up.
I think you might be riffing.
Yeah. If there is a carbon copy Mini, get that.
Yeah, carbon copy. So the great thing about using analog delay for short delay times, the shorter the delay time is in your analog delay, the clearer that delay is going to be. Oh my goodness! You were absolutely correct.
MXR carbon copy Mini.
That's amazing.
M299.
Yeah, so those shorter delay times with analog delays work so well. The longer delay times in the analog delays, so you're changing the clock time, you are changing the amount, the frequency of the, you've got these little capacitive elements in the bucket brigade device that sends the signal and then from one to the other, and that gives you your delay. The shorter that time is, the more intact the signal is, the repeated signal. Which is why an analog delay works brilliantly for those slapbacks because it stays analog, but it's a nice, clear, crisp delay. Works wonderful.
Scotty Moore, for years in his later career, used the DD3, I think. Might have been a DD2, but a basic Boss Digital delay.
DD3s are great.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter too much, actually, for a slapback.
Yeah.
It's not hugely... it's not like where, as Dan was alluding, if you're going for a longer character delay with very specific type of character in the repeats, it's not quite so critical for the slapback, although an analog delay is great for it, as we said.
Yeah, really wonderful.
Hi from Palm Springs, says Richard Parker. Thanks for helping me learn to adjust gear with my ears.
Sorry. Alex here for one, talking about the splitter. He's going, people GDO's front. Splitter!
yeah. It's a Monty Python gag for anyone who doesn't
Very
know it.
good, very good. Sorry, continue.
That's why I kept saying splitter.
Yeah, very good.
Hi from Palm Springs, says Richard Parker. Thanks for helping me learn to adjust gear with my ears.
Excellent.
I finally stopped asking for other people's settings. You for king of the world. It's literally a waste of time asking about settings. Have you tried the 2-Rock and the Matchless Wet Dry? My HC30 comes on Friday. Have we ever?
Of course we have.
Been in quite a few shows, I think.
It's the most.
Certainly a number of shows.
Yeah. It's that sort of sound that you can just...
Let me correct what I just said. It's usually dual mono, you're right. It's usually everything through both amps. So wet dry, I think we have tried it. I'm not sure we've done it in a show.
I'm sure we must have.
Unless we did it in the wet dry show.
Yeah, I mean, check that. I'm sure we have.
Mm.
2-up wet, matchless dry. Yeah, glorious.
It's pretty serious.
Yeah, glorious.
Hope you
knowledge.
enjoy that amp, Richard.
Yeah.
It's a glorious thing.
Very, very serious amp, that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Well done, mate.
Plexi Head 1. Hi, DNM. I've just become the proud owner of a custom shop Strat. He says, Mick, but I think you mean Dan. Dan, contact Fender Custom Shop. They can give you info on the pickup in red.
Yes, a couple of people have said that, so I'm going to find out exactly what it is. Apparently, it's called the 63, only available on custom shop models and not available to buy separately. But I'm going to double check that because loads of people have asked me
That
about
is
that
correct.
pickup.
I did know that.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't buy them separately. They're just, yeah.
Yeah. Apparently so.
Okay.
Ron Ellis was telling me about it.
Okay.
Honk. David Rustad, a profound chapeau for Dad's incredible playing telly sounds last week.
Man, that's very kind. Thank you, David.
Yep. Legends, says Wyatt Knox. I'm about to install a set of Lolla low wind Imperials in my Les Paul. Yes, you are. I'm considering trying 1 meg pots for the volume and or tone. Do you have any experience with this or clues on what caps to use?
Funnily enough, I've just been doing a vlog on the long bottom telly and I swapped out the 500k pots for 1 meg pots.
Because it was too
And
muddy.
It was, I'm not getting that top end
Yeah.
through. Now, interestingly, because I'm spending a lot of time with the volume rolled off, it makes much less of a difference. Of course, as you would, but the 1 meg pot thing is really interesting. When it's all the way open, it does make a difference. You do get less loading, and therefore, you know, more top end. Now, it all depends on the pickups. It will make a difference in the humbuckers. It's difficult to say because it all depends on the pickups. But it's certainly worth a try. I mean, changing pot values is a great way to, you know, it's a simple way without changing your pickups. If what you're lacking is a bit of top end, put in a more resistive pot. If it's too bright, try, you know, less resistive pot. It's yeah.
I would say, Wyatt, depending on what kind of Les Paul it is and what pickups are coming out of there. So I'll give you 2 examples. Let's say it's a standard burst style custom shop. Or if it's a, I don't know, 2000 standard with ceramic magnet pickups. Even in those 2 extreme examples, what you will notice with the low wind Imperials, if you go for absolute bang traditional wiring, so 500k pots and whatever the caps were, I don't even know what the value was. Maybe were they 330s? Anyway, whatever the traditional burst wiring spec is, and do it 50s wired with those low wind Imperials, you will be utterly staggered how much extra high end there is.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You won't. If what you're pulling out of there is the standard Gibson wiring harness and standard Gibson pickups, and you're putting in low wind Imperials, 50s wiring, and the proper vintage spec pots and caps, you will be bowled over how much more that guitar will do. So I would not go 1 meg pots, and then if it's still not quite bright enough, it's no hassle just to swap the pots out. Pots are cheap enough as a second stage.
Yep. So Gordon Rankin's just popped in and says 1 meg pots lose a lot of treble. Now, that depends on the quality of the pot, right? We're talking about the make of the pot. It says better to use precision components, 500k. They're stellar. They're more expensive at $25 each from DigiKey, but yeah, that's a. But
so that's a lot for a pot. But
it's a lot for a pot, but
it's not much for a great guitar.
There you go.
Yeah.
And it does make a massive difference when you get that right.
Yeah. Again, a slight tangent. Talking to Ron about, he was considering manufacturing some pots because
oh wow,
the wiper material they use.
Yeah.
apparently is very significant in how they sound.
Totally.
It's like, oh my God. Here's a hair. Let's see if we can not just split it, but let's cut it into 20 pieces.
Yeah.
20 slices. David Braniff. Oh dear, David. I broke my middle finger yesterday at the park with the kids. Minimum 2 weeks with no guitar, but TPS will get me through. Give the broadcast a blast for me. Now then, at the risk of giving everybody the bird, which I will not do, I reckon you should splint your finger
Right.
and play with 3.
Yes.
Use that opportunity to build finger
up.
strength,
Yeah.
in 3 and 4, and figure out some really cool new chord inversions.
Yeah.
As long as it's not too painful.
Sure.
Because what better opportunity have you got? If you're like any of the rest of us who don't practice, your finger dexterity in 3 and 4 will probably be quite poor.
Right.
Because, that's the whole point of doing those exercises, isn't it? When you lay it on a flat surface and do those, it's the 3 that's hard to lift.
The 3 that's really hard. Yeah.
So it might be that as long as you can strap it and it doesn't cause you any pain, and somebody medically qualified say it's not going to impinge your convalescence, try it. I think you can come up with some really awesome chord voicings, and you can inadvertently give everyone the bird while you're playing.
3 and 4 share a tendon or something, don't they? That's the weird thing. But interesting you say that. So when I was doing my music course, there's a guitar player called Paul Seiler, astonishing guitar player, and he broke his index finger on his left hand, like seriously broke it.
Wow.
And couldn't use it for like 6 months. And he just played everything with these 3 fingers.
Wow.
Subsequently, the guy was just untouchable.
Yeah.
Because when that came off, like they're all index fingers.
Because he built the strength.
Just built the strength up in
Yeah.
there. That's a big deal, that stuff.
I knew this guy lived in a caravan, got burned, and only played with 2.
Django.
Not laughing about his injury, of course. But yeah, I mean, that seems totally unbelievable when you hear him play, doesn't it?
It does.
For those of you who don't know, Django Reinhardt, the most famous gypsy jazz guitar player, sustained a burn to his fretting hand and played predominantly with 2 fingers. And if you listen to Django play, it's...
Yeah, there's no... They're mental barriers, aren't they? You'll find a way, like he did.
Do you ever catastrophize about things?
Oh, are you kidding?
Like we shouldn't talk about this because
where do I live? Welcome to Catastrophize Lane, population me.
Because if you're superstitious, you really shouldn't talk about this. But I always thought that if I like crash my bike or anything, I'd imagined like having a slide fitted onto the end.
Yeah, totally.
And
you're just going, hey, well, this is what I got now.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry for anyone who has sustained such an injury. We don't mean to make light of it, but yeah, it's worth thinking about these things. Good luck in the getting better, David.
Yeah.
We hope that's not too much of a pain in the finger for you. Rob Brewer, hello Rob. He says, thanks for the telly show. If I got another telly to complement my Maple Neck Mexican standard, what would you suggest? In particular, do the rosewood substitutes, Pal Ferro, etc., provide a similar tonal contrast? That's a really good question.
That's a great question.
It is said, and I don't know if it is true, and I certainly haven't done any experiments, that Pal Ferro can sound a little lighter than your Indian rosewood.
Interesting.
Now, it might be purely psychosomatic because it does look a bit lighter.
Very interesting.
I don't know. I've never done any side-by-side tests. Actually, that's a lie. Me and Pete did a video on the Andersons channel once with 2 strats, one with the rosewood, one with the Pal Ferro, and I think they sounded all but identical.
Okay.
Can't really remember.
Very interesting.
But as another, so your Maple Neck Mech standard is basically this guitar, right? This is what they were before they moved to player. So this is a all up your kind of all round telly. So to complement, what could you think about? Yeah, different fingerboard materials, a good shout. You could think about a thin line.
That's a great shout.
The Squire FSR thin lines that are coming out at the moment, or maybe they're called vintage modified. just looks so flipping cool for really crazy low money.
Wow.
So a thin line could be cool. The other thing that could be cool, in the Vintera series, which is the sort of vintagey style guitars made in Ensenada, Mexico, they do all kinds of different versions with 2 humbuckers, like the classic single coil in the bridge, humbucker in the neck, deluxe style. I don't know, maybe it was called a custom by then, I don't know. Or a thin line, yeah, and just because I think that would be very, very different.
Rax Effects says Palfaro is difficult with climate changes. That's interesting. Yeah.
You mean it moves?
Yeah, I guess that's what it's saying. It's difficult. Interesting. Very interesting.
The reason I got rid of my GNL sat, because it wouldn't go 5 minutes with the neck straight.
Play that chord again you just played.
I don't know, I was putting my fingers anywhere.
That was beautiful. You went dun dun dun. It did. Oh, I'm going to go back and rewatch the show and find out what that chord you played was, because that was really cool. I will do that. That's great. Where was it? Someone had mentioned. Sorry, this is interesting. Rhett Scholl broke his shoulder while mountain biking. Yes, sending love out to Rhett. Hope he's feeling better soon. Do you avoid any activities out of prudence to avoid injury? Not really.
Dan actively goes for them. For example, grappling on the floor with other men and sometimes women in a competitive sport.
Indeed.
So Dan looks for injuries. I ride a motorcycle, which is, well, basic insanity.
Yeah. Your motorbike looks fast, just sat there. I fear walking past your motorbike while it's sat there.
I ride it very sensibly.
Yeah, you do.
But yeah, I mean, I get for sure. I think if you, on a wider point, if whatever you do with full mind engaged and thinking about what it is you're doing, you lessen the chances of doing yourself some damage. And again, these are sort of things we don't really like to talk about if you're in any way superstitious. But I suppose, yeah, I mean, you wouldn't necessarily want to be like my friend Graham, for example, is a builder, and he's constantly chucking concrete blocks around. And his hands, you know, he's been building for 50 years,
Right.
40 years, and his hands are a mess.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess you probably want to think about doing things like that.
I mean, there are precautions, like, you know, when I'm grappling, my fingers are taped, which makes a big difference. You know, I'm very, very conscious of my hands. Yeah, but nothing, you know, I certainly wouldn't let my love of guitar playing get in the way of enjoying other areas of my life because I'm concerned about my hands.
Actually, El Rondo says, no more guitar playing for me. I sawed off my left thumb.
Oh, man, are you kidding?
Got rebuilt to a point, but will never be able for guitar again. Oh, man, we're so sorry to hear that. That's,
buddy.
That's a, well, there's not much to say about that, really, other than we're sorry to hear that. Scott McLean says, check out an awesome Polish bassist on YouTube called Julia Plays Groove. Now, I don't know if that's Julia who does for Toman. It may well be. I played with Julia a couple of times. She is truly a spectacular bass player.
She's incredible.
Yeah.
She's
I think it
incredible.
might have been that I saw her playing with the
drummer.
The drummer.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Peter Butler says, hi, can I tell you how much I love the Telecaster show? It was great. What do you think of the Fender Double Esquire? I don't understand what the difference is.
A double Esquire.
An Esquire with 2 pickups.
So, that's so interesting.
Is it a wiring thing?
I don't know. So the Esquires came pre-routed for a neck pickup, right? And then you could add the neck pickup as an option. From memory, I think that's what when we were at ATB. So
Maybe.
I'm wondering if it's just an expansion on that idea.
Pine might be part of it.
Oh, okay. Right. That would make sense.
Single Esquire, yeah, black laminated pine. Yeah, black laminated pine on the first few single Esquires, then changed ash body, summer of 1950, one-piece maple neck, blah, blah, blah. It sounds like there's no difference at all. Yeah, I don't know what the answer to that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apologies, I don't know what the answer is. I was under the assumption it was...
Vivas Patella said it has a blender pot instead of a regular tone control.
Oh, okay.
So you blend the pickups together instead of the tone. There you go.
Interesting.
Very good. Thank you, Vivas.
So it's nothing,
Legend.
It's nothing necessarily unmodifiable via electronics, potentially, unless it is something about a pine body. But Rabia's got a double Esquire bound body custom type thing, and that, from what I can tell, is much the same. So
11th Hour Sound. Sorry, I just need to read this out because it's a really great idea. It says, "Hi, I love your show. I'm a live sound engineer and bass player full time. I would love to see more shows about stage volume and stage setups to understand what front of house needs to make you sound amazing."
It's a great idea.
That's a great idea.
We get asked a lot about volume because obviously Dan and I are very passionate advocates of playing loud, and
not for loud's sake, just to have dynamics there.
Quite rightly, a lot of people go, well, it doesn't, it's just not possible in today's world, so how can you keep talking about it? And we keep saying, I wonder if there is a way to do it. But of course, we talk about doing band shows, but if we did a band show, it would get mixed.
Yeah.
So you're still really none the wiser. You'd probably have to go to a venue and have the live engineer kind of talking while you were doing it. Maybe that is possible.
You know what we do? We do it. We still mix it, but then we just go to only the room mics so that you can hear how we mix ourselves live.
But even then, the room mics are hearing a very specific version of what's actually happening.
Yeah.
If you've got the room mics in here, they don't sound anything like what's happening in the room.
What if we get one of those neural?
Yes.
Dudes.
Get Neumann in to do. I think
Neumann.
I think both of us would say that we've seen blisteringly, insanely loud bands who play with dynamics and care towards one another.
Mm-hmm.
And the live engineer doesn't have a huge problem because the band plays with the kind of dynamic and togetherness that means they're sort of mixing themselves. A bit like an amplified version of a bluegrass band, right? One mic, bunch of people, and they step to prominence as they need to. And I think some of the most dynamic and musical bands will play in that way. I guess the problem comes at a metal gig when you've got two guitar players with 150 watt dual rectifiers. No one can hear anything because everyone's on ears and have got plugs in.
Yeah.
And that's the other end of the spectrum where everything is too flipping loud all the time.
Yep.
And that does cause problems for the out front person. But it's a fascinating subject.
Absolutely fascinating.
The thought of loud stages and guitars dying fills me with absolute horror.
Yeah.
Because it once you lose it, it's not the same thing anymore.
Totally. There's a magic in that dynamic.
Yeah.
When you have a guitar player that knows how to use dynamics, and all of our favourite guitar players, it's one of the key elements in our favourite guitar players.
All of them.
They know.
They're all loud. All my favourite guitar players are loud players.
Yeah. And they know how to use dynamics.
Yeah.
Right? They know how to use that volume. And it's that effect of that volume that is so arresting, and it's absolutely, I don't believe that'll ever go because it changes the fundamental thing of that connection.
Yeah.
So I remember being in Australia, and this is 20 years ago, and I remember a really great guitar player in Australia doing some depth gigs, and the guys would come and say, "We need you to turn down." He'd go, "Nope, that's my sound.
Oh my God.
If you book me, that's what you book." And they go, "Oh, okay." And they'd have to, and he was really dynamic with it. But when he'd unleash, he would just unleash.
And that was it.
And it was amazing.
He was on the go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've all been to gigs, and I have been that guy who's too loud, definitely.
And I've got the guy that got the blame for it.
And played in bands that were too loud. So we're not, just to be clear, it's not always better when it's really loud. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that the use of dynamics musically is better when it's loud.
Yeah, totally. Having somewhere, it's like voltage. It's potential. It's having somewhere to go. There we go.
It's like voltage. Alan Twiley, or Twilly. Alan, thanks for your contribution. We don't have a chat from you, so maybe one will come in a minute. Corey Nichols, he says, leg ends. After listening for years, I've decided I needed to start pitching in on Mondays. This is my first of many to come, and for this week, no question. Just glad to be part of the TPS family. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Corey. That's a big deal. We appreciate it. Amoeba Teen says, hi, gents. I love the telly show. I recently upgraded my telly with Lola P90s and a Bigsby. I love it. Any chance of an AC30 versus Deluxe Reverb amp off?
There's a great show.
That's a good show, that.
Yeah.
We have copped some flack over the last few weeks because we're not really doing pedal shows at the moment. So Dan and I, we had a little meeting today and decided that we better do some pedal shows that are about pedals. So, but yes, absolutely.
What pedals work best with cranked AC30s and a cranked Deluxe Reverb?
See, now I think that could work nicely. Oh, I really liked it when it was about pedals. But, you know, within the moans, there does often lie a diamond of information, which we take to heart.
Indeed.
Seriously. Jolly Willard. Hello, Jolly. Nice to hear from you. He says, love the telly show closing jam. I'd love to have one or two great expensive guitars or a variety of cool affordable guitars. I have a fave guitar and my whole rig is set up to work best with it. That's interesting. So he's saying a couple of megas or a bunch of less mega.
Couple of megas every day.
I could go on an extensive philosophical excursion on this one.
Right.
There is.
And we will.
No, I'll try and keep it as brief as I can. Dan and I were talking about ego earlier, which is the two-sided angel and devil of our brains.
Right.
You need it, right? Ego is important because it helps you progress, and you know, and I'm not saying there's a single definition of ego either. I'm not necessarily talking about Freud's kind of, you know, demarcation of id, ego, and superego. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about ego is in, yeah, look at me. Do I give a crap about what anyone else says about me?
Yeah.
In the loosest term, right?
Sure.
So you need it, but it says a lot about what kind of personality you have and where your ego sits about what kind of guitar you play, because there are lots of people who will not play an expensive guitar because it doesn't suit their personality or their ego.
Yeah.
And what that is the same superiority complex that the person who plays the expensive guitar has.
Really?
I think it is. Because what it is I'm right. I am mentally attached to this guitar because it defines who I am. I'm not spending all that money on a guitar.
Right.
Because it's a waste of money, and I want to be the working man, and
Okay.
and I want to. And I felt a bit like that playing the Purple Squire on the show on Friday. I felt like, man, nobody needs anything more than this.
Right.
And
Fascinating.
it says a lot about me
That
I can make a great sound with this cheap guitar.
Right.
And that is a superiority complex. Because it starts off as a feeling of inferiority. My guitar is cheap.
Right.
And I wish it was better, but I haven't got the money. Or my psyche, my upbringing, and my view of expensive things doesn't allow me to buy a really expensive guitar.
Okay.
Therefore, what I think is correct, and now I feel superior about it. That's how feelings of inferiority become superiority complexes.
That's fascinating.
And it's the same with the expensive guitar.
Right.
Because you go, I need a really good guitar because I want to look like I've got a really good guitar.
All right.
And then you start thinking that you've made the right decision because this is the right thing, and you start telling yourself that it sounds better than all the cheap guitars.
Right.
The fact is, none of the above is true.
Right.
Because this cheap guitar might sound in your hands every bit as good as this expensive guitar. So it's really just about an expression of self at that point.
Sure.
So back to the original question, 2 fantastic guitars or a bunch of cheapies.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters is if you're confused about what you want to play.
That's very good.
Isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm so guilty of having loads of guitars that I don't play.
Sure.
And I think, oh yeah, great, saw the Isabel Telly. It's, you know, it's a third of the price of the actual custom shop guitar that I really want. So I'm going to buy it. And you know what? It's going to sound great, and it will sound great, and I really love it.
Yeah, it does
and I'm
sound
not,
great.
I'm not going to drop $4,500 on a custom shop guitar.
Sure.
I will drop more than that on a Collings i30.
Wow.
So what
yeah,
is
yeah,
what is
that's
that
so
about?
interesting. Okay.
It knocks on the door of all this stuff that we do having no basis in logic whatsoever. And thank goodness that it doesn't, because if it did, we wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Would we?
Howling Man says, I played cheap guitars for 19 years. Last year, I finally bought a real expensive guitar, American Professional 2 Strat. I love it.
There you go.
That's really all I need, other than my cheap acoustic, which I love too. It's great. That's fascinating.
There you go. There you go. Aquaponic. Simon Park. Oh, he says that's a good point. Bing Bong says, cheap guitars sound 100% different than expensive guitars. I don't think that's necessarily true. I'm with Mick. I have a Strat and a Les Paul. Neither of them have the right name on. If I had loads of money, I'd probably go for expensive ones. Cheap guitars have less dynamics, make it a bit easier to sound smooth and fluent, better for beginners, says Frank Triggs. There's some truth in that.
Right, that's interesting.
There is some truth in that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's universally true, but I think there is a general point there.
The less dynamics
is easier.
There you go.
And that is without doubt true of amplifiers.
Fascinating. Wow. We got deep.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, inverted pride is a bummer, says Mark Nicholas. Yeah.
Joel Dowley says, I have owned several Fender Tellys, but now I have 3 custom shops and will keep them forever. It's really interesting when you find the guitar that you connect, like, you know, Red for me is the last possession I will probably ever sell.
Yeah.
And when you find that guitar that you connect with, it doesn't really, because there's a story and a history that I've got a connection with this guitar.
Yeah.
Now, if I had picked up Butters and it was exactly the same as Red, in other words, if I'd had that history with Butters, not Red, and I'd picked up Red and does all this stuff, Butters would be that guitar for me because of the history and that all that stuff with it.
That's it. It is
experience.
It's experience. It is psychosomatic, you know.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't be dismissed as being in some way fake or not real. It is real because it's happening in your brain. It's real.
Yeah. It's like when Dumbledore said to Harry said, is this real? Is it all happening inside my head? And Dumbledore said, of course it's happening inside your head, Harry. Why does it mean it's not real?
There you go.
See?
There you go. Wisdom. We should do the Dumbledore t-shirt.
Dumbledore. Yeah. Written in double font. Yes, thank you.
Thales or Tails BS says, first of all, I love the show and everything you guys do. Mick, you said in the telly vlog that vintage customs don't have a skunk stripe in the neck, but in your ATB show, the one you played had one. Yes, what I actually said was vintage guitars with rosewood boards don't have the skunk stripe. That did. It was a prototype. And I've since found out that some of the very early prototypes for the rosewood boards had the skunk stripe.
Really?
Yeah, and I suspect that's because that's what they had to hand.
Yeah, right.
To do the prototypes. But I don't believe it was a production thing. And certainly I Googled about 300 pictures of 59 to 60, whenever they started doing it, 67 or something maybe it was, I don't And
So
I couldn't find one.
Would they take a one-piece maple neck and plane down the fretboard to put a rosewood fretboard on it?
I think that's probably what they did to I mean, this is pure conjecture, and no doubt there are forums on it that go into detail, but conjecture would say that that's in order to prototype a rosewood fingerboard,
right,
you would take what you had
and work it. Of course,
wouldn't you?
Yeah, of course.
So yes, good spot. Thales or tails. Yeah, E-Conga. Do you have any Music Man guitars?
I had a Music Man guitar in Australia, and it had a really lovely neck on it. It was wonderful.
I had one of the first silhouettes, one of the early silhouettes.
I had a Sport.
Axis Sport.
Axis Sport.
Yeah.
It was cool. P90s in it.
Yeah, it was very sort of narrow nut and very, very C.
Very C.
Very C, and I didn't like that.
Right.
At all.
I thought it felt very nice.
Yeah, cool guitar. I also didn't like the 3 and 2 headstock. I couldn't deal with that aesthetically.
Right.
But blimey, how many awesome guitar players play Music Man guitars?
Yeah.
Lovely things, beautifully made. Yeah. Right, back to the program, Dan. Back to the program. Oh, it's logged me out.
Oh dear.
Yeah, nice.
Let's see. Floop-de-doo says, same here, I own some expensive guitars, but I mostly play a modded Tagima and Squire. Interesting. I played Stephen Rothery's Squire Strat. Amazing guitar. You know, this was his main instrument for a long time.
Yeah. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I think we do go through those periods in our life where we really question whether we're worth this gear. And I think...
I know what you mean.
And I think sometimes if you don't feel like you're worth the gear, for whatever reason, you feel more able or vindicated or comfortable playing something that's not as expensive.
Sure.
Like, quite often I'll be playing through my 2-rock and go, today this may as well be, with no disrespect to Boss Katana owners, a Boss Katana 50. It may as well be. For the way I'm playing today, it may as well be that.
Okay.
And again, no disrespect to Boss Katana owners, given that one is 250 quid and one is $5,000. It's purely about price, right?
Of course.
So it's all in here.
Yeah. And the other side of that is, of course, like when I bought the 65, you know, it's a harder guitar to play than Red.
Yeah.
It's got less, you know, it's more specialised in the frequency range, you know, as far as, you know, tonally. But when I bought that guitar, because it was a dream of mine for so long to have something that had some years behind it, and I approach it with reverence.
Yeah.
You know, and I like the neck on that thing is just so amazing to play, and I sit down and I feel that I'm a steward of this guitar as opposed to I own this guitar.
It's worth something, isn't it?
And that is absolutely to be part of that guitar story is just magic. So, you know, sometimes it's not the actual physical properties of the guitar, but something else about it that will bring something out in you, whether it's part of its story, part of its, you know, sentimental value or whatever.
It's all valid.
All valid.
Yeah.
Absolutely all valid.
I'm going to turn Super Chat off because we're absolutely banging on Super Chats. Thank you to everyone who Super Chatted. If you've Super Chatted to this point, we will answer, but I'm going to turn it off. Thank you very much, but we've got absolutely loads to get through. So, yeah, it's all valid, isn't it?
It's all valid.
And if it encourages you to make meaningful music, then it's all worth something.
Mm-hmm, indeed.
And the minute you try and be logical about it, well, then it all goes to crap. Blimey, Dan, we've messed up here.
Okay.
We've really messed up.
Right, let's crack on.
Oh my God. Okay, everyone, get yourself a drink. We're going to be here for a while. My friend John Kadlichik, says Mark Lavinish, uses an effects loop in his guitar, so his board is entirely in front of his volume knob. Any experience of this?
Okay, so he's taking an output directly from the pickups into the board, coming out of the board into the return, into the volume knob here, into the... All right, so
he's got a master volume.
you've got a master volume on the guitar. I mean, it will work. I'm assuming that he's changed the pot on the guitar to be something like a 50K or 25K or something, because the output will be buffered to this. That's fine. You may as well have a volume pedal on the board. We'll do exactly the same thing. The problem with doing it that way is that you no longer have that volume impedance relationship between the guitar and the pedals. But it's a totally cool way to do it. But to save basically what is a 4-cable method in the actual guitar itself, you could put a simple, 50K volume pedal at the end of the signal chain and then have that go into the amplifier and get exactly the same effect, and then be able to do it with your foot while you're playing instead of doing this. But it works.
I was going to say, if it's a unique part of the way he
great.
approaches the guitar and it's all part of his thing, cool.
Awesome.
Something different.
Yep. Well done.
Toby Elliott. Hi, chaps. I'm in the process of buying a telly for my son who turns 18 next month. Congrats.
Happy birthday.
He'd really benefit from that beginner series you mentioned. Any news when it might start? Stay fuzzy, says Toby Elliott. Yes, it's going to start before the end of August. We're actually going to have some time off.
Indeed.
We're going to do a live show this Friday, we think, and then we're going to be off the air for a couple of weeks at least. Just while things like holidays happen. We have said before that there's no point being on the air in August because the views are low.
Everyone's busy.
Everyone's busy.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that's a Northern Hemisphere thing, but...
we want to take some time to just refresh a few things, consolidate.
So we will come back with that before the end of August.
Yeah.
And that'll sort of be our beginning into the autumn.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, so look out for that, Toby, and we hope he enjoys the new telly. Rhino Jam, just ordered my QMX10.
Ah, legend, thank you.
So time for a board rebuild. Dan, what's your preferred brand of solderless cable?
My preferred brand is Evidence Audio SIS. I've been using them for years, had fantastic, consistent results. Saying that, though, I know loads of guitar players have had great results with all different sorts of solderless cable, from George L through to what's the Providence, through to there's a bunch of different things. Free the Tone.
There's a lot of them available that use the same. Push it in, use the screw to make the ground.
Yep, and that's all good. The most important thing is getting to understand the weaknesses and the advantages of the actual cable, so that when you put them together, it like anything, there's a knack to it, right? And I can put together SAS cables pretty consistently and have no issues whatsoever. But the SAS cable, I know that when I'm stripping the insulation from the center core, I know that I can't dig too deep, because if I gouge into the copper and then I go to screw that in the tip, the copper can snap off and then I'm stuffed.
I've got 3 tips with that.
Right. So you end up developing a feel for where, how much pressure's on that. And that comes with experience. Eric Johnson, he's been using George L cables for years.
Yeah.
Great results for them. One of my favorite guitar cables is an old George L cable.
Yeah. So what matters is that they're well made, not what brand they are.
Yeah.
Isn't it really?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And then after you've made, the good thing about the solderless stuff is it doesn't take too long to develop a knack for creating them. Obviously, if you can solder, and soldered stuff is great, but it takes a lot longer to develop good solder skills than it does to be able to put together a good solderless cable. But George L, Evidence Audio, Providence, Free the Tone. I think Boss have just released some. There's
loads
and loads out there.
Yeah. Chuck D's on.
Hey, Chuck.
Fight the power. He says, hi from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Is a TS type overdrive a good choice for a Bassman amp? I've heard the Bassman is more mid-focus than scooped. What ODs do you recommend?
Really, really good question.
Depends on what Bassman it is first.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
it's a
totally.
tweed Bassman, that's very different than a blackface or a silverface Bassman.
Yep.
But we assume you mean a tweed Bassman. That's usually what people mean when they say Bassman.
Yeah. I mean, the Tube Screamer can still sound fantastic with that amplifier.
Tube Screamer sounds great with anything.
Yeah.
If you like that. Hello, mid-frequency.
But that mid-frequency is so important when it comes to being heard, you know. And it's not as if that's all that pedal's got. You look at what happens with the tone control and that, and it's actually, you know, you can get some nice biting treble in there. It's going to be tighten up the bass no matter what you do.
Which could be good in a Bassman.
Yeah, it can be great in a Bassman. But it all depends if that's what you want. If you want to bring those, you know, sort of more mids. The really cool thing about if you've got the Bassman and you've got it working, right? What happens with that mid push thing is those frequencies will drive sooner than the rest. So it's not that that'll become really pronounced and honky if it's driven. It's a different sort of dynamic thing. As you dig in, you'll just feel those mids so they become a bit spongy or a bit, you know, they'll break up first. But other pedals to consider using a Bassman, you know, so anything full frequency, Blues Driver, OCD, Southland, the Greer Southland is an awesome choice for that stuff. Things that'll give you a bit of a you know, tightening of the bottom end.
I'm going to say buy a way huge green Rhino
Okay, interesting.
because it's got 500 hertz and 180 or something
Right,
EQ on it.
right.
So you can dial in as much of that mid honk and bass end as you want. It's basically a Tube Screamer with the two bits of the EQ that people find problematic solved.
That's
so
really cool.
if you're TS curious, go for the way huge green Rhino, whatever the latest version is, Mark 4
That's
or 5,
really
I
good.
would guess. Yeah, that'll work well with your bass man.
Yeah, really good.
David Tompkins says, which telly is best for swinging at the heads of stage invaders? With the Keith Richards reference there, famous video of Keith boshing somebody with his telly.
Wicked.
I doubt an Ash body has enough weight. What about hardware? We don't condone any violence towards audience members.
No. Saying that, though, some of the old telly customs from the 70s
Yeah.
how to do some damage.
Yeah. Ash is interesting because obviously it can be featherweight in your famous swamp ash, or indeed just your good old ash. But some ash, especially 70s ash, and the ash that my old Strat is made out of is basically like boat anchor ash. Supremely heavy. Mic stands are quite good for hitting punters with. I've done that a couple of times.
I remember getting knocked out at a gig in Sydney, some dude singing and some dude just, that, you know, one of those crazy crowds, and he just sort of throws, he gets bundled onto the stage right, so there's a mic stand, bang. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, Aaron Locker. I want to use a looper in my rig, but I use a 4-cable method with a Boss ES8 switcher to my JP2C. Where would the best insert point be for the looper? Also, how soon till we get Dan's tip of the cap segment?
I like that. That's very good. It wasn't coming, but now it is.
Okay, so you use the 4-cable method with your Boss ES8. So you want to put a looper in that.
So as long as the looper can handle line level, then you would put it on the just before the effects return, so that the preamp and everything's going through the looper. If you put it before that, then what's going to happen is you're not going to capture the sound of the preamp and that sort of anything else that's going into that section. So you're going to go out of, you got your pedals that go to the front of the amplifier, Then you're going to have the send into the amplifier, the effects send from the amplifier back into your ES8. Then you're going to have your pedals that are going to go post preamp. And then after that, right at the end, you're going to put the looper. And then from there, that's going to go back into the effects return. And what you can actually do, instead of using up a loop to do it, just come out of, I'm assuming you're using output 1, because the output's unisolated. So just come out of output 1 and go directly into the looper, then from the looper back into the effects return, which means that no matter what you're playing, you'll always be able to just hit the looper and that will work, because basically you're always going into it. There you go.
Jolly good. Sorry, I'm just looking for some information, Daniel.
Okay.
Which I'll come back to in a sec.
Okay.
Bill Norrish. Thank you, Bill, for your contribution. No question. So maybe that may come through to me. 9. But thank you, Bill. Jorgen Severin Einarsson says, "Hi guys, he's from Norway. Thanks for this show last week. Thanks for the great show last week. As a predominantly Strat guy, I prefer Rosewood fingerboards. But a country guitarist first, what would I choose as my number 1 telly? Any experience with Ha guitars? The Isbell, love that guy, looks neat too."
Isbell is a great choice. I actually went
It's a good country guitar too. If you like the Bakersfield version of country.
Isbell's amazing. It's got a real snap to it.
It's good at that sound.
Really great. Really, really wonderful.
Yeah.
I actually went to the Ha Guitars factory in Denmark or Holland.
I think they're Denmark, aren't they?
Denmark. I think it's... Yeah, anyway.
Maybe they're not. Maybe they're
I was out there seeing Papa Chubby.
No way.
Yeah. Went out there with Brian,
Yeah.
actually. Went out there just to see him.
What, Brian Wampler?
No, Brian, my mate, they came over a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, Brian.
Yeah.
Yes.
And went out to see Papa Chubby, who was just wonderful. And we stopped into Ha Guitars and had a play. They make fantastic guitars.
Really,
Really great guitars.
spectacularly good guitars.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the name. I think it's Marco.
If you're looking for a country Telecaster, there's 1,000 different versions of country, right? What I really like about, let's take Butters and the Jason Isbell Tele. Both have classic country tones in them. The Jason Isbell country is tighter in the bottom end and has a real snap to it. Really great using with a compressor to be able to get those, lovely, still loads of top end in there, but there's a lot of snap in there. Tight bottom end, and it really cuts through. Whereas the Butters, the maple neck, really interesting thing about those old maple neck guitars, they're a lot warmer than a lot of people think. And
Depends how much finishes on the neck.
exactly,
Big time.
That's a really big thing. So you see a lot of the new maple neck tellies with loads of finish on it. They will be a lot brighter. They tend to be a lot brighter, which is can be really cool. Doug Seven, who is an amazing country player, I bought some lessons off him years ago, and he's got the best country tone, but he's got that classic bright zingy maple neck thing. Sounds amazing. Whereas the Butters thing, that traditional warmer, a little bit fluffier.
Seems to push more in the mid-range too.
Yeah. So it's that energy from that top end seems to sort of go down. It's a little bit more prominent in the mids, and a lot of those older style maple neck guitars that are a bit warmer have that mid range.
Yeah.
Eric Johnson's tone with his old maple neck Strats. Listen to the mid range in that. You know.
Yeah, they do seem to push a bit more. Obviously, that can come down significantly to the pickup too.
Of course.
What magnets are in the pickup and how many winds it's got and all that. Ha guitars. I was thinking of Marco, who has done plenty of demos for Mad Professor.
Right.
Who is just an astonishing player. Every time I see him, I think he has a Ha guitars wonderful thing.
Okay.
So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. In conclusion, buy the one you like the look of.
There you go.
The best. Spencer Presley. Hello, Spencer. He says, as a casual player who gigs occasionally, What's a reasonable percentage of money to spend on gear? I want a 2-rock, but I gig rarely, so I feel it might be a little obnoxious, even though I can afford it.
It's such a personal thing.
Yeah. I'm looking at my 2-rock forlornly.
Oh, man. How much do you want to spend?
Yeah.
You know, just forget everything else. If a 2-rock, okay, just using 2-rock as an example, if a 2-rock is something that you've been dreaming about since you were yay high, and it's your dream amp and you've always wanted one, and whenever you plug into one, you just feel that the love, then awesome. And if you can afford one, and that's a really big point actually, because I remember when I was a kid, you know, as soon as I turned 18, I got a loan for gear. It ruined me. It was terrible. The worst decision I ever made. Buying gear that you can't afford is a big mistake. However, if you can afford it and it's something that you really want, then if it makes you happy, awesome.
You've got to go there to come back as well. That's the truth about some gear. If you sometimes you just have to scratch the itch, and as long as you're not crippling yourself financially to do it, sometimes scratching the itch can be a massively eye-opening experience, because you go, well, actually, I don't really like this.
Yeah.
I've done that with so much gear.
Yeah,
lusted after it and got it and gone, yeah, not for me, actually.
Yeah.
You know, player A
Yeah.
makes it sound beyond fantastic, but it's just not for me.
Yeah.
So if you can afford it, and one way of doing that is buying used. You can buy pretty much anything used, with a few obvious exceptions. And so you can turn it around and not lose too much cash on it.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
And that's a good way to sort of experience gear. I mean, you might lose a little bit, but not a huge amount.
Yeah.
You might even make a bit.
Yeah,
So,
great point.
Yeah, but I guess ultimately it's about what makes you want to play, and there is value in having gear that inspires you to pick it up.
Sure.
There is some value in that. Colin Dow, hello Colin.
Hey,
He
Colin.
says, have you got any thoughts on how to get Bramall tones? I assume you mean Doyle Bramall 2, without vintage and super high-end gear. His tone is legendary. Thanks as always for all you do. Never stop.
Thank you. I'm going to let Nick answer this one.
Okay, so I'm a massive Doyle fan. He's among my favourite musicians of all time ever, which might sound like a strange thing to say given the canon of fantastic musicians down the years. But I love Doyle Bramall. I absolutely adore the guy. So some common things to Doyle's sound, and you've only got to listen to a couple of his records to spot whether the similarities are. However, there is a great deal of variation. So it might be that he's playing some real mid-focused slide picked part, or it might be, if what you're actually talking about is the kind of giant strat octave fuzz sound, which is probably what he's best known for.
Right.
But you've only got to listen to one of his records to hear the full gamut of electric guitar tones. Plus, of course, he's produced loads of records too. So his knowledge is deep.
Yeah.
And his ability to get tone is deep. But if what you're talking about is the kind of octave up, slightly fuzzy, very vocal sort of lead tone, then he's a big fan of all fuzzes, particularly tone benders and fuzz faces.
All right.
He is a big fan of the Prescription Electronics Cobb,
Yeah, right.
which you won't be able to find that easily because I don't believe they make them anymore. However, this, if you're a Doyle fan, buy this.
It's so good, that thing.
That is Zach Mythos's version of the Cobb, and it is that very specific octave up sound that makes a doily noise.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Run that after a fuzz. Loads of reverb. Dial in tons of spring reverb. And play. What is astonishing about a lot of Doyle solos is they are primarily purely pentatonic.
It's not astonishing.
All those same notes, and yet he sounds so unique with it.
Yeah.
In the same way that Stevie Ray sounded unique with it, in the same way that Freddie King sounded unique with it. Same blimmin' notes, right? And
who did you get me to listen to the other day? Muddy Waters.
Yeah.
Oh my word! I hadn't heard that before.
It's such a great track.
What's it called? Baby.
I Want to Be Loved.
I Want to Be Loved.
Version 4 or whatever it is.
My word.
Yeah. Just killer. Anyway, so try those things. Doyle is a lefty strung righty as well, I think, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
And that does have an effect on how the strings are bent.
What's his name?
Is he? I should know this, shouldn't I?
What's the other guy that plays like that?
Eric Gales.
Eric Gales. Far out, man.
I just think it's always important to say these things rather than just say them. And yeah, he's a lefty strung righty. So his bottom string's on the wrong end, and it has an effect on how you bend strings.
Absolutely. And unless he's playing like this, it's going to sound completely different.
Yeah. So big love to Doyle Bramall.
I've talked to him on the phone once.
I am a fan.
Yeah, he was very cool. Did a FaceTime with him. And Julia in the office, who's a massive fan. Oh, hang on, I just want to... Hey!
Yeah, I met him in Hyde... no, not Hyde Park. Met him in London for the last record. And, a true artist.
Yeah, he really is.
True artist.
Really is.
Anyway, good luck with that. Go for the Prescription Electronics cob or clone thereof. A fuzz in front of it. Plenty of spring reverb, and do some serious learning on Albert King and Stevie Ray licks. And then the other thing that Doyle does so well, really great blues players do this, and really not so great blues players get it wrong, is that unbelievable transition between major and minor.
Yeah, right.
Which is so hard in pentatonics to make it sound right.
Your mate, great guitar,
John Mayer.
John Mayer, he's got a new YouTube channel called like John Mayer's Thoughts or whatever it is, and he shows going between major and minor pentatonic, and it's really interesting. Anyway, check it out there.
Oh, cool. That is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an art form.
It is.
Clapton, of course. Listen to some Cream stuff if you want to hear it done properly. Albus Band, Aaron, hello. He says, well, happy Bunday, legends.
Happy Bunday, buddy.
I hope you're well today. If you could only listen to 3 records for the rest of your leg end time, what 3? What a great question.
Together Alone, OK Computer, Grace, Jeff Buckley. Sorry, Together Alone, Crowded House, OK Computer, Jeff Buckley, yeah.
Oh my God, this is tough. This is really tough. Grace, Jeff Buckley would be in there for me. And then there's a bunch of records I've got on rotation. So this week, it's going to be Sarah Jarosz, Undercurrent, and I'm going to say the Brothers Landreth first record.
Oh, very good.
Because Joey is such a dear friend, and it would remind me of dear friends.
Yeah. Oh, that's really high on the list.
It is a really spectacularly good record.
Yeah. That's very good.
Yeah. I'm trying not to pick Led Zeppelin 2, Axis Bold as Love, and Sgt. Pepper's. I'm trying not to pick those 3. Scott McLean. Hello, Scott.
Hey, Scott.
He says, what's your opinion on the G&L ASAT saddle lock bridge?
Is that the one where you...
It's got a grub screw that comes in from the bottom that pushes them all together.
Oh, wow, okay. Pourquoi?
Will be revealed, Daniel.
I'm assuming it's just so it doesn't lose any energy by having the saddles vibrate next to each other? Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so vibration is a problem on telly bridges.
Right.
Hold up your Telecaster, Daniel. So obviously this is not a Telecaster, it is a G&L ASAP. For those of you who don't know, G&L is George Fullerton and Leo Fender, one of the companies that Leo Fender was at after Fender. And his explanation of the ASAT, which some people say is an acronym for another Strat, another telly.
That's very good.
Some people strongly refute that,
Right.
including everyone at G&L.
Okay.
ASAT, something to do with a satellite. So
As soon as topical?
the Strat was called the Stratocaster because they were fascinated by space, stratosphere and all that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So ASAT maybe something similar. Anyway, whatever. What you see on a bunch of post-telly designs is where they separate the bridge from the bridge pickup. And that's a vibration, can be a vibrational issue. And you look at like some Tom Anderson guitars, the G. Smith telly, where they actually physically cut the thing off.
Oh, there's a top loader as well.
Now it does seriously affect the sound, which is not to say better or worse, it's just very different. And it being a top loader, which may explain some of that.
Zing. Yeah, man.
By putting a grub screw in there and tightening it, it pushes all the saddles together and stops them from moving.
Okay.
So,
very good.
Personally speaking, I've got no problem at all with that.
No.
So I don't really have an opinion on it. I did play an ASAT for years. It was my main guitar for 2 or 3 years there.
A Strat version?
No, one of these.
Really?
But it was red.
The B-bender?
No, that was another one.
Oh, you had a collection.
I had 2.
Wow, very good.
Yeah. And I played that guitar through an orange OTR 120 in indie bands.
Awesome.
Yeah. Hi from Boston, says Tom McGovern. Hello,
Hey, Tom.
I'm looking forward to getting my pre-ordered Lefty Danish Peak Purple Squire Classic Vibe Telly. Early 2022. I have a Fender Pure Vintage 58 bridge pickup and a 52 neck pickup set ready for it. Very cool. Be interesting. I'd rather suspect that the pickups in that guitar are pretty decent as they are. The classic vibe stuff from Squire is so cool.
Yeah.
So cool. Noah Bottimer says, great playing, Dan.
Oh, thank you, Noah. That's very kind.
I wasn't into tellies until I got hooked on TPS and I built one.
Oh,
a couple of years
nice.
and 5 other guitars later, it's the one I call my guitar and play daily. Thanks for converting me. Oh, that's amazing.
Well done, mate. That's brilliant.
Good stuff. Jat.
Have you ever built a guitar?
I bolted a few together.
Right.
That is a big difference from building a guitar.
Yeah.
Jat, or maybe Yat, if the J is pronounced with a Y. But we'll go with Jat. From Canada. Everyone uses Yamaha NS10 monitors. If your mix sounds good on them, it'll sound good on anything. My NS10s are my Chevy Silverado.
Very good.
Do you put thought into your vehicle's stereo system?
I bought my car that it had to have the proper stereo because I do a lot of driving, and the primary place I listen to music is in the car. And boy, oh boy, on those long drives, having a good stereo, especially, going along the motorway and the external noise levels are, up there, having a decent stereo, what a difference it's made. Boy, oh boy.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because a lot of Dan's got a relatively modern car with a very nice stereo system in it. And the technology involved in that
it's amazing.
It's really serious, isn't it? I have an old car with a half decent stereo in it, but it plays CDs.
Oh wow, nice.
And I like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
I did have a very modern car before that, and the stereo in that sounded pants. It was a Mini Clubman.
Right.
But
it didn't sound good.
It's just modern. Sounded like a modern MP3 player.
Okay.
Just 50% of it missing,
Right.
Yeah. No, never upgraded anything, have you?
No, I wouldn't touch it.
No.
An old banger I used to have in Sydney, and I got a stereo for it and some proper speakers and everything, and it was just awesome. Yeah. No, and I completely understand why people do that, because if you're into music and you drive a lot, having a good stereo is unreal. Mark Kilminster, the bass player, his new car's got a surround sound
nice
system in his car, and it's just unreal.
I think if you've got a decent V8 lump anyway, you lose everything from about 80 hertz to 200 anyway.
So we're looking at doing the acoustics in the studio, right? The standing waves and stuff. Man alive! Look at the mathematics for the inside of car space, bouncing off the glass at angles and stuff. Unreal.
Chevy Silverado. We don't have the Chevy Silverado in the UK, but I am aware of what it is.
Right.
Casey Musgraves makes reference to it.
Oh, does she?
Yeah. There's a great song called Space Cowboy, which you would think is, anyway, so you can have your Space Cowboy. You can ride away in your Silverado. Yeah, not that Space Cowboy. Some people call me Maurice. Thanks for all the great content, says Travid Richardson.
Oh, thanks, Travid.
Actually, Casey Musgraves' Golden Hour would probably, at the moment, be in my 3 albums for the rest of all time ever.
Really?
Such a fantastic record.
Is that? Sorry, Golden Hour.
It's her last record.
With Golden Hour on it.
Yeah.
That's astonishing.
Yeah.
Absolutely astonishing.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thanks for all the great content, says Travid Richardson. Keep it coming. I'm a keyboard player who now has 12 guitars,
Yes.
40 pedals, and a wet dry rig with a 64 custom Princeton and a 57 custom Tweed Deluxe, thanks to you. My wife has a TPS t-shirt as well.
Very good.
Nice one, Travis.
Well done, buddy.
Yep, that is you're in the game, clearly. Jeremy Summers. Hi, Legends. Mick, got my own Jason Isbell telly last week.
Oh, nice.
Very happy. Surprised by the sustain and the harmonic resonance. I found it to be dynamic with each pedal sound and very individual. What are your thoughts re other guitars? Yeah, I mean, so there's obviously, when you get a new guitar, you have a new guitar bias. Well, you start with buyer's remorse, where you think it's the worst thing you've ever got and you should send it back because it's cost you so much money. And then comes new guitar bias, where you think it sounds really brilliant. And then in about a year's time comes the final actual view of what you really think of the guitar.
Yeah.
Having heard it next to all the other T-shaped guitars in Friday's show, I really like it. I think it's got its own thing.
Absolutely.
And it's got its own thing in the way that I really wanted it. So I wouldn't be able to handle a guitar like Red. It's too... funnily enough, watching the video made me realise something. Dan's got quite heavy right hand. And I think you drive that guitar.
Oh, interesting.
And you know you like treble.
I do like treble.
See, if I was playing that guitar, I have a very different dynamic approach to a guitar than Dan. I don't think I'd be driving those trebles from the guitar in the way that you do.
Oh, wow, okay.
And so they sound harsh if I play that guitar.
Really?
When you play that guitar, you drive the trebles. Think about an AC30. If you don't drive the treble in an AC30, it sounds harsh.
Wow.
But if you drive the treble in an AC30 and you use it what it's there for...
That's very interesting.
It doesn't go harsh anymore. It compresses and it sounds really great.
That's
so for me, the Isbell doesn't do that. It's nowhere near as brash or grunty as either Butters or Red. But that suits me and the way the way I tend to set my amps much louder and have way more headroom in the pedals and hit the guitar a bit softer.
Right. I'm going to work on that.
And that, well, no, there's no better or worse about it, is it? It's just how you sort of grow. And I'm pretty sure, I was watching you play. Just play a sec.
I've done a pick. Lovely.
Yep. I've always thought that Dan hits the pick flat on.
Right.
Quite a lot of the notes you play, the pick is flat.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Nearly every note I play is
angled.
almost raked and angled.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that explains the difference. Because what you will have noticed, when Dan picked up the Squire, the purple Squire, and you hit it, it was 30% louder than when I was playing it.
Wow.
And it was, it wasn't a small difference. It was immediately obvious.
Right.
And I think certain guitars benefit from that. And then, of course, that affects everything downstream.
Of course.
So
it's the start of the gain stages.
Right from what capacitance cable is going to work.
Absolutely.
All the way through into your gain staging.
Yep.
All the way through into how you set the EQ on the amp. So to rewind back to that conversation we were having at the beginning, where somebody said, they don't worry about settings anymore. That's exactly why.
Yeah.
Because if we set the same rig up, same guitar, same pedal, same amp, we sound completely different.
Wildly different.
Not just a little bit different.
No. It's a universe part.
Yeah, and
totally.
that, I guess, in part explains why, again, coming back to what we were talking about earlier, why B.B. King, Freddie King and Albert King and Doyle Bramwell and Stevie Ray Vaughan and all the guys who played all the same notes sound so markedly different.
Yeah, of course.
All right, they might have played them in a different order and with different inflection and stuff, but that difference in the attack I find fascinating.
Yeah. Random song comes on my playlist. First note is like, wow, BB.
Yeah.
And it's like, hang on. I literally heard one note. It wasn't bent up or anything.
Yeah.
It wasn't crazy. It was like one note. It's like, and you instantly know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's magic.
So Dan came in, got out of the car the other day, absolutely fizzing about this Steve Gadd band track with Landau on it. He's like, listen to this. So I called it up on iTunes and had a listen. I was like, wow, yeah, 2 notes, that is Landau.
Yeah.
To the untrained non-Landau fan, you would say it was Jeff Beck.
Yes.
But within 2 notes it's Landau.
Yeah.
And I just find that fascinating. Because it's clearly not the notes they're playing, is it? Because anyone can play the notes.
So, I mean, this is quite obvious, but the thing I love about guitar is that it takes 2 actions to make 1 note, right? You've got to get this right here, and then you've got to get this right here, and then you put them together, and you get a note, as opposed to, everything else. And I think that's a large part of why it's such a personal instrument. I mean, you hold it very close to you and it vibrates against your stuff, but that, having to engage both your hands to make a sound.
Yeah. Non-aligned Video says, Tim Pierce's post from yesterday discusses how Neil Giraldo, guitarist for Pat Benatar and producer, gets more bass out of instruments with his fingers.
Wow.
Totally true.
There you go.
Josh Smith came in one day and he brought his Chapin with 13s on it, and the EQ difference between the 3 of us playing it was literally like you had somebody sat there with a flipping 1073 turning the treble up and down.
Yeah. Picked it up. Mick picked it up and was like, wow, really warm. And then I pick it up and go, there's something broken. Josh picks it up and it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, incredible.
Marco Rosella, here's a question. Would you rather... You've got a choice. You can only plug into solid-state amps or never use pedals. That's easy. So unbelievably easy for me. Never use pedals every day of the week.
Really?
And the valve amp of my choice. I'd buy a 2-Rock TS1. And I would wait for my Collings i30 to turn up. And that would be as much reverb as I ever need.
Can I have a Music Man that's got a solid state front end and a valve back end?
If you want.
Okay.
You weirdo.
Yeah. Gotta have my flanger. Gotta have that stuff.
I had at least one of those in the 90s. My friend Steve quite liked them.
I want to do a video because I'm all fizzy about the Princeton at the moment. I want to bring my AC10 twin in. I want to get a Music Man 2x10 and Blues Breaker, the 10-inch one, whichever one that is, and just get a bunch of 10-inch speaker amplifiers and just go through them and just see whether that thread of that 10-inch speaker carries the way through all of them.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Cars in Depth said Garcia, presumably Jerry Garcia, had a very distinctive shape to his notes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Oh, this is interesting. Toby Mayo. Toby Mayo says, your left hand is what you know.
Right.
Your right hand is who you are. That's profound. So your fretting hand is what you know. Your right hand, your playing hand, with due respect to left hookers, is who you are. That is so interesting.
Erratic ADHD. That makes complete sense.
Kevin, would a decent guitar compressor, e.g. a Cali 76, work well for bass, or should I get a dedicated bass compressor?
Cali 76 will work great with bass, primarily because of the mix control. Really important with bass compression. You've got to have that mix control.
Is there not a bass version? No, it's just one.
I don't think so.
No, okay.
But because I guess the Studio 1176, will do the same job. But yes, having that parallel direct signal is really important with a lot of bass stuff, but certainly in the compressor.
Jolly good. Oh my God, Dan. Sorry, my various... Oh my God, we're going to be here a while. Sorry, I'm trying to get back to where we were. Wow. Thanks for all your work on moderating, BV Ninja.
Yeah, thank you,
says
BV.
Thomas Baran. And of course to you guys for great content. Yeah, BV, thanks so much.
Yeah, legend.
For anyone who doesn't know, BV does this completely free of charge and out of love, and we are eternally grateful. Thank you, BV.
Yeah.
Aaron Martin says, I've determined that the hiss in my rig comes from my delays. Collider then tried a Wampler faux tape echo. It's in the full chain straight to the amp. How do I fix this?
Okay.
Power supply.
Yeah, power supply's a big one. It just... It's one of those things. If you've got all true bypass pedals, right, and then you kick on the delay, you'll hear the hiss from the buffer. All right? If you turn the delay off and you turn on an overdrive, you might not hear the hiss because it's overdrive. It's one of those things. We're doing a buffer show soon.
One person's hiss is another person's normal background noise.
Yeah.
So you can really
Disappear down that hole.
Yeah, of that. So it's about how bad it is. If it's bad, it sounds like it for me it is literally always non-isolated power that does that.
Yeah, that's more hum than hiss though.
But noise in general.
Yeah, I guess I'm always differentiating between.
I get yeah.
And
if you're running gain hiss.
Yeah, sure.
It's I guess the two things.
I'm
are
very
inseparable.
surprised though with the
Collider.
The Collider, because that's mega. So check the power supply. Check the power supply.
Jay Heesman, happy Monday, guys. Hello, Jay.
Hey, Jay.
How would you advise learning more advanced chords to help make some more interesting chord sequences and loops? Thankful you do.
You want to look at extensions. So if you... Let's see. Any of the great online guitar teachers, Paul Davids, Tim Lurch, there's so many of them. You want to look at extensions of the chord. So basically, you got your triads, which is your 1 through 5. If you add a major 7 on top of that, if you add a ninth on top of that, if you add a sharp 11, you start adding the extensions on top of your 1 through 5 triads.
Just break that down for a sec. Play an A major chord, Dan. And you said 1 3 5.
1 3 5.
And And they're called 135 because
it's the first note in the scale, third note in the scale, fifth note in the scale.
just play the A major scale for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so you need to learn. This is why chords and scales are completely inseparable, because they are the same thing.
Absolutely.
Apart from you play all the notes at once in a chord and you separately for a scale. So by doing what he just said, the most basic building block for a chord is 1, 3, and 5, right?
Yeah, so you go up in thirds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's my triad. 1, 3, 5. If I go up a third from there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We got 1, 3, 5, 7. You get this. And then you go up again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then you can keep going up and up, But they're just called extensions. And obviously they work in major and minor. There are loads of instructional videos on that. But it gives you flavour. It gives you some sauce and spices to those chords. They're wonderful.
Yes. So start in A major, and 1, 3, and 5 are important because
So you got your tonic. The third
root
tells
note,
the root
1.
note. Yep. The 3 tells you whether it's major or minor. Yep. And the 5th is your dominant note. And then you get 7 tells you whether major 7, dominant 7, minus blah blah blah.
So why don't you try playing 1, 3, and 5 as the major triad, and then adding 7, 9, 11.
Yep.
And if you're confused about 11, it's because you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Yeah.
It's 9 is 2.
Yeah, the 11 is 4, but generally, if you're talking about major, we talk about sharp 11s, because if you just have a normal 11, so if you just have, so here's my major chord, if you just have this, it gives you that suspended chord that wants to resolve. So when we do sharp 11, the Simpsons, it gives you that Maria, and just when I go my Maria. It's a great sound.
So this, if you've studied music theory, this seems really obvious. If you haven't, it's really not obvious, and it sounds like some foreign language. But just understand that chords are made up of intervals of scales, and if you start to understand how those intervals break down, you can then add notes, which is what you're saying. How do you, learning more advanced chords, you can add notes, and that's how you do it. And then you can then pick out those added notes in your melodies.
Absolutely, because it is extensions, chords, solo playing, chord playing, it's all the same thing.
That's what jazz is.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful.
And I'm talking about, like, I know what I'm talking about. I know the theory. I can't play it for toffee. So
I'm right there with you.
that's palpably not true, Daniel. Good luck.
Yes, mate, good luck.
Right, Spencer Presley. Any 6L6 tubes you'd recommend, or what to look for?
5881s?
Go with what your amp manufacturer suggests.
That one. Do that.
Read what we said earlier about designing amps around modern valve manufacture. Sometimes it's really important because of plate voltages and things that modern valves can or can't take. In addition to that, in addition to that, if you are going to change the output 6L6s in your amp, let's say it is, for example, a Fender Hot Rod Deluxe, you will need to rebias the amp for those tubes. Groove Tubes made a massive marketing campaign forever and still do about perfectly matched tubes. A lot of people say it doesn't matter.
Just num bun.
Etc. etc. So
Happy bun days.
Yeah, you can go down the rabbit hole. I've never bothered.
No.
Truth be told.
Yeah.
Just because it's just yet another variable, which isn't to say it doesn't make a massive difference, because it really can. But if you buy really nice quality amps, I'm pointing at my Two Rock, which have been very carefully reconsidered for the tubes they use, then I don't really feel the need to mess with it too much of that. Having said that, when I lent it to Matt Schofield to record his last album that hasn't come out yet, they promptly changed all the tubes in it
Oh, wow.
and put all old NOS and proper vintage
Nice.
Mullards and stuff in it. So,
And that sounded magic.
yeah. I've always bought, having said all of the above, I've always bought JJ's.
Yeah, JJ's always good.
Just because all of my favourite amps seem to have them in.
Yeah. Yeah, I know Jesse uses JJ's for the Laser J stuff.
Yeah.
And always been great. Rock solid.
But brand, doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's how they're
Yeah, good
selected.
point. Cosmic J says, how many valve factories are there these days? There's only a few, isn't there?
Somebody said 3, somebody said 4. I expect
Yeah.
Gordon Rankin will be on in a minute to tell us, won't you, Gordon? Magan 1991. Hi, Dan and Mick. Love the show. I've been thinking about getting an Epiphone Casino, US made.
Nice.
Would you get one, or is it stupid money?
So different to one you've got, is that right? The one you've got, I'm assuming, is not USA made.
I'm assuming they must be made in the Gibson plant, are they? Just as a wild guess. Made in Nashville, or are they made by somebody else? Yeah. Looks like they're built in Nashville.
Right.
Yeah, looks like they're built in Nashville and Gibson's plant there. So let's see, they're 2,300 quid. So my Chinese Casino, I think, is 500 quid or something like that nowadays. Which is a perfectly okay guitar. The pickups I didn't personally like, although after the vlog, plenty of people have told me they much prefer the original pickups.
Really? Yeah, no.
Everyone on the internet knows everything, don't they? So it's a lot more money, but then if you look at I don't know what the Nashville 335s are now, but I saw a lovely used Sunburst 335, which I know is not a Casino, but we're talking similar money. In fact, let's make it more relevant. I was looking at a 330 recently, Memphis one, and that was 3,700 quid used.
Wow.
They hold their money really well. So in the grand scheme of things, I would have thought for a USA-made guitar, if they're made there in Nashville and they use the same, one would assume they use the same pressing materials, then I would say it's probably pretty decent value.
Yeah.
I don't know what the resale value is going to be like, but no reason why they wouldn't be great guitars. Nitro finished, I expect. So, yeah, I would say they're sensible money, not stupid money. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Haven't played one, Magan. So, Logic says they're going to be pretty similar to Nashville built
Sure.
ES models, aren't
Sure. Yep.
they? Anyway. Raf Freitas. Hi, Raf.
Hey, Raf.
He says, hi, lads. Love the telly show. I yearn for a custom shop George Harrison model. Have you played one? Is it worth the price for the tone? P.S. Is anyone selling a made in Mexico Classic Series 60 Strat lacquer with rosewood fingerboard?
Haven't played the custom shop one. Played a real one back in the day, and loved the guitar. It was wonderful.
Yeah, I've not played one. That Classic Series 60 Strat lacquer is the guitar I would buy on a Strat budget.
Right. Really.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Obviously, they don't make them anymore. James Ellisor. Gentlemen, thank you for being a much-needed distraction during this pandemic. I've learned much here. As I'm in the US, having a pint together is out of the question, but have one on me. Much respect.
Thank you. That's
Thank you,
very
James.
kind.
That's super kind of you. We'll do just that. David Burke says, hi, gents. Great video on Friday. Thanks for showing how different the same type of guitar can sound. I feel much better about how many tellies I own.
Good man.
P.S. I didn't really feel bad about it.
Very good. Very good.
Jason Clark. Hey, is there any product to power mini pedals with a 9-volt? I'm looking for clean, high headroom, black face style tube amp with no reverb tank suggestions. Is there any product to power mini pedals with a 9-volt? Oh, I see. So you take a 9-volt battery and you power the mini pedals off it? Is that what he means?
I don't know.
Dan Electro do a battery pack.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's another company, King something, but the Dan Electro battery pack, you put your batteries in there and then you run the power out to the pedals and it's powered from the battery. That works really well.
Yeah, if that's what you mean.
Yeah.
You're also looking for a clean, high headroom, blackface style amp with no reverb. Any suggestions?
Blackface with no reverb.
That's quite hard because most of the blackfaces had reverb.
Unless you get a Bassman head. That didn't have a reverb, did it?
Yeah, blackface basement, I guess. Yes, would be the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, look for a blackface basement then.
Yeah, they're great.
In addition to that, I'm trying to think. Non-reverb.
I saw a video of my mate Mark Johns.
The
the other day.
Sovtech.
That's a great shout. Find an old Sovtech. There you go. Do that.
So that's exactly what that is.
Yeah, totally is.
Isn't it?
Yep.
Pretty much.
Really, really great shout.
It's behind Dan and it's called a Sovtech MiG 50. They do still make them.
Yeah. Oh, the Dan Electro Battery Billionaire. That's what that's called. So, yes, Sovtech MiG 50. Yeah, really good. Just so I saw a video of my mate Mark Johns playing the other day with his basement head and a 2x12. Just epic sounding thing. They're really, really great.
Like Lions says tuner. It's tuner stroke buffer. Into Pitchfork. Into a synth 1. Don't know what a synth 1 is.
Synth one's a boss. Oh, no. It's
Something synthy.
Yeah.
Into a Westwood overdrive. Into a Shigeharu fuzz.
right.
EP booster at 18 volts. Echoes delay. Afterneath. MD200. Empress reverb. Fish and chips EQ. I've got room for one more drive. I'm thinking of a Beatronics Fat B. Any suggestion?
No, if you're thinking of that, go with that because they are awesome. The Beatronic stuff is so good, so impressive. You've got, well, with the synth stuff, you've got massive square wave stuff. You've got,
It's very different from anything else you've got on there.
yeah, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool shout, actually.
Yeah. Love Beatronic stuff. We don't use it enough.
No, but every time we've plugged it in, it's like, wow, really inspiring sounds. That's a really good shout.
If that's your... The one other suggestion I would say, which is a slight oddball, but just as an alternative suggestion.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's the Jupiter Effects Eternal Youth. And I think given your enjoyment of those kind of sounds, you might like that as well. But if you're going down the Beatronics route, go down the Beatronics route. You won't be sorry.
Yeah, really, really great stuff.
Wes Chilton. Hello, Wes.
Hey, Wes.
A weird thing happened this weekend. I bought a CXM 1978, and now every pedal on my board is either white or silver.
Nice.
R2R treble boost, Reeves, Luxmaster, an OCD Centura, a Fairfield delay, a Cali 76, and the CXM. Well, that's a very blooming nice board, isn't it?
Wow, lovely.
Goodness me. Hope you're loving that reverb. I mean, it does...
It's ruined me, that reverb.
The buyer's remorse takes a minute. And then it's like, I can never take this off my pedal board ever.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah. Funnily enough, I did a little acoustic session for a friend, and after my experience with the CXM 78, I used the Lexicon plugin.
Oh, wow.
On a couple of things
That's very cool.
in the mix.
Right.
It sounds similar.
You prefer the pedal?
Yeah. But that's because I'm not sure I really understand the plugin very well.
Yeah.
But
it's so tweakable, that thing. But yeah, it does sound really good.
Pedal Porn is on. Hello.
Hey!
Hey guys, Matthias Asato here, calling in from Newcastle.
Sorry, who is it?
I think it's hang on.
Oh,
yeah, it's Matthias Asato here, calling in from Newcastle. I'm enjoying the show with some fish and chips. Just wanted to say thanks for everything you do. From your mate, Matthias.
you missed him again. Matthias just called in.
Get off. No. I had to just nip outside to see to a delivery. No way. Chris from Pedal Porn's been on now. Thanks, Chris. DJ M Check wants to know, the blues are two words that cover a lot of styles. They are Chicago, Texas and British, for example. Would you consider a show that examines some of the major styles, including gear advice for achieving those tones?
That's interesting.
It's really interesting. It's sort of back to what we were saying earlier, that so much of the sound of those players comes from the player.
Mm.
And a bit like Gilmour, it's often said, isn't it, if you plug Gilmour into any gear, he sounds like Gilmour.
Yeah.
Which is partially true. He sounds more like Gilmour at, 118 decibels with an echo rec, a whammy.
Yeah, and Lewin is leaning into that sound.
Yeah. He sounds more like Gilmour when he's doing that.
Yeah.
But like Stevie Ray, for example, he sounds like Stevie Ray on an acoustic, and he sounds like Stevie Ray playing unplugged electric.
Right. But he's like Texas blues, right?
Texas blues,
right?
One would say.
So, but do they call it Texas blues because Stevie Ray came from Texas?
No, I think it predates that. But a lot of people would associate Texas blues with him.
What's the commonality then?
I don't know. I mean, would you call Freddie King Texas blues?
I've got no clue.
Because he was from Texas.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. So you listen to, would you call Jimmy Vaughan Texas blues?
You would.
Because they are nothing alike.
Yeah.
Stevie and Jimmy, like worlds apart.
No. But I think you would call Muddy Waters Chicago blues, wouldn't you? And you would call Clapton British blues. So I think we know where the touch points are.
Right.
I think we know where the touch points are. It is interesting.
I'd love to understand that. If there's a way of getting across, maybe get Matt Schofield in.
Within Texas, what have you got? You've got Billy Gibbons and you've got Stevie Ray. I mean, they just sound so wildly different.
Yeah.
And Billy Gibbons is all about, crank Marshalls, really.
Yeah.
In the heyday, and tweed Fenders and stuff.
Matthew for Fly says Texas blues would be in the lineage of swing music.
Yeah, okay. So coming out of all of that. Yeah, really interesting.
Interesting. Buzz Crumhunger says Gatemouth Brown. I only discovered him like a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Ah, man, he is something else.
Yeah.
It's hard to... You can't have a frown on your face listening to him.
Yeah.
He's so vibey. Brad, Guitar Man in Texas, says Johnny Winters is Texas blues.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so that's so amazing.
It's so vastly varied, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. What I mean, where does Albert Collins sit in all that? Yeah. Anyway, I think we've come up with lots of reasons why that would be a problematic show. DJ M Check.
I never forget when we had Kirk Fletcher on, and he showed us all the different periods of BB's vibrato.
Yeah.
Oh my word! So if Kirk was here, we could totally do that.
We could totally do it, yeah.
Because he could take us through all those things.
There we go.
So next time, yes, okay.
We get Kirk and maybe, I don't know, somebody else in, and we go, right, you show us.
Kirk and Matt.
Yeah, or Josh, or any of those guys who are scholars of it.
What's his name? Oh, come on, brain. I saw him at Real World recently. Paul Stacey did his album. Scott McKeon.
Oh, Scott, yeah, he's a scholar of that stuff too.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. There's a vague plan coming together. Thank you. That's a great idea.
Yep. Dean Lalor says, I bought a Strat after years of searching thanks to the Strat show. I want to upgrade to wet dry with real amps. I love Simon Neil's big sound, but also John Mayer tones. I'm playing at home and with a drummer. I'm very lost.
So you're looking for a rig that will do it all. You're looking for one amplifier. If you want to do the wet dry thing, TPS wet dry, you're looking for an amplifier that will maybe limit a little bit more for the dry sound, and an amplifier that has perhaps a bit more headroom for the wet sound. For example, the sound I used at the end of the telly show was wet dry, with the overdrives going to both amplifiers, but just the wet effects going to the deluxe. So, and the Princeton was overdriving more than the deluxe. So in that sense, two ways you can do it. You can either you can use two of the same amplifiers. It works brilliantly. If you're going to have mismatched power, use the lower power for the dry amplifier, the higher power, more headroom for the wet effects. What you'll find is you don't have to go silly loud. You can have, like we've got here, a 12-watt amp and a 20-watt amplifier, and that is absolutely more than enough for any gig.
I disagree, but anyway.
Well, okay, it's more than enough for me, unless I'm doing... more than enough for any gig that I currently do.
Yeah.
Or haven't done for a long time.
It's loud enough.
It's loud enough.
But if you want the Mayer clean tone, forget the Princeton.
Right.
Just won't take the bottom end.
Sure.
Unless it's at like 2, in which case it won't be loud enough for your drummer.
Yeah. Okay.
You might
but in that sense, when you'd use the deluxe reverb and
you'd go up one.
Go up, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. So what he says is right. How loud you're playing is really what it's all about.
Yeah.
So if your drummer's a hitter, so stage 1, Princeton and deluxe, as Dan said, volume wise, loud enough.
Yeah.
Really crazy loud actually. But if you want those loud cleans, it's very hard to achieve them.
Sure.
In a Mayer sense.
So then you add a third amplifier. You go from the Princeton Deluxe to a Deluxe Twin or a Deluxe,
or a Hot Rod Deluxe.
Hot Rod
actually.
Deluxe, yeah. So Deluxe to a Hot Rod with a Hot Rod Deluxe. So then you've got your 3 amplifiers, and depending on the gig, you take those 2 or those 2.
But I think
Love
with
that.
all of those things, with any of those combinations of amps, you can do most of it.
Yeah.
And then it's really just about overdrive pedal choice. Obviously, if you want Simon Neil, have a look at Metal Zone, but
Boom Blast.
The Boom Blast is a better option, yeah. And then just the balls to play in the way that he plays, which is absolutely unbridled.
Yeah. And articulate.
Yeah.
Man, it's really funny because I've known Simon. I've been in the studio with him. I've spent a week with him in the studio. Done loads of work for him, put in the rig. But when he came, I really learnt something new about him when he came here.
Huh.
And just hearing him stood in front of those amplifiers, and yet the articulation he was able to get at volume, where there's still all that energy and connection and aggression, but articulation with it. And when he's playing those big chords with big sound, and yet still all those notes and all those extended harmonies and stuff coming through. And then I'm like, that's the Biffy thing. That is the backbone to all of those songs, is how he's able to do that. Absolutely incredible. Hearing in the studio that I'm hearing these layers and how he hears these things in his head.
Yeah, yeah.
But here, it's like, this is how I do it live. It's like, my little finger's out here, and I'm like, wow, he's grabbing all these extensions, but with his massive overdrive sound. Just wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. Lots of chat in the comments about what blues is and isn't.
Yeah.
JP Delaney SRV was Texas Shuffle more than Texas Blues.
Oh, really?
Being from Mississippi, says Perilous Temple, blues monikers have to do with rhythm. So Texas Blues swings and Chicago shuffles.
Oh, wow.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Because Stevie shuffled. British Blues, Danny Kerwin, of course, Fleetwood Mac guitarist. But so it's obviously a huge melting pot and largely contentious therein.
Yeah. So you can have all those different blues in just the same song.
Yeah, exactly. Gary Clark Jr. is from Texas. Mississippi Blues, Fred McDowell and John Hurt, says Robert English. Of course, yeah, we go back to that. Problematic.
Yeah.
Okay. Vivas Patil. Hello, Vivas.
Hey, Vivas.
He says, hey, gents, no question this time. Just wanted to say thanks for all the tips and help. I finally got my King of Tone and Sunface yesterday.
Hello.
Hello.
That's a happy day.
Plugging these directly into my Sir Badger 35 has been magical since I got them. Cheers.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, lovely app.
Haggis
Lovely
Haggis. Haggis says, 2 weeks ago you fixed my Lazy J Dumble True Spring digital latency problem.
app. Oh, cool.
I replaced the True Spring with the White Whale reverb trem, problem solved.
There you go.
So no question this week. Thank you. There you go. There's a live example of why we don't like no analog drive-through.
Yeah.
Good.
Why
Glad
we-
it's worked. Haggis.
Why we don't like no. Sorry, double negative. I'm just working it out.
Yeah.
Got it there. I'm there. I'm
why
there.
we like analog drive-through.
There you go.
Yeah. Jim Collinson. Hello, Jim. For someone who never uses a wiggle stick, what are your thoughts on hardtail strats? Are they still strats?
That's yeah. I mean, well, I like Andy Timmons' sound that he gets out of his hardtail strat. I think that sounds pretty amazing.
Yeah, I've never had one. Never had one. Played a couple down the years. I really like Matt Schofield's one. He's got an ash body
Right.
one, which interestingly, in the bridge position, I think he's also got a metal plate on the bottom of his bridge pickup. So surprise, surprise, he plays a lot of Albert Collins on it.
Are they rear loading or top loading
Through the body.
to the body? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Interesting.
surprisingly, he plays the stuff that sounds more telly on that guitar.
There you go.
Yeah, ash body, fixed bridge, metal plate.
Interesting.
Yeah, cool. I mean, they have their very passionate users, don't
Yeah.
they? Hardtail strats.
Yeah. I just know Andy Timmons had the day that my Strat was stolen. I went down to a guitar store, vintage guitar store in Sydney, and the only Strat that I could afford at the time was a 70s brown hardtail Strat, and I just thought, it's brown. It was like fence brown, and I couldn't do it.
Right.
So yeah, called my friend, borrowed his telly.
Like a walnut brown.
Yeah. Yeah.
They did do some brown ones. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. All dogs love their owners, though, Dan. I think you've got to remember that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. Z looks at me sometimes and I don't know what he's thinking. I don't think love's high on the agenda. He's like, yeah, anyway.
Any food? Walk on the go?
Yeah.
Chris Warburton, leg ends. Do you know anything about the new baby 633 amp? Sort of Princeton price, but lower power. Oh, interesting. 633, 633, I don't know, 63.3, 6 and a 3 and a 3. British amp company, Kurt Fletcher.
Oh, yeah.
Does use some very, very nice amps, very beautifully made.
That album that he played that amp on, and it was basically just that amp on the whole album. It's just some incredible tones. on
Yeah,
there.
really lovely amps. Don't know anything about them, Chris. Going to be good.
Yeah.
It's going to be good. Oh, God, excuse me. Didn't have me shreddies this morning, Dan. Mike 2203 fan. He says, my 2002 Highway 1 Strat plays really nice, but the pickups are a bit dull compared to expensive Strats I've tried. Any suggestions for an upgrade? Yes, Fender Fat 60s, never look back.
There you go. Lollas are a great shout as well.
Lollas, bare knuckle Irish tour set.
Oh, very nice.
Really cool. Could work
Very
nicely in
nice.
that guitar. There are so many great pickups out there. My default fallback choice, because I've heard them in so many guitars and they are what's in Transit Van at the moment, And the majority of Strats that I played that came through Andertons, Rabias, Black Strat, Fender Custom Shop Fat 60s.
Yeah.
That's my fallback Strat pickup.
Okay.
I really like them. So,
I've heard some really good Lindy Fralins.
yeah, I haven't
as
heard
well.
Lindy's for a long time, actually.
Mm.
A lot of them had bass players as well.
Yeah, right. But yeah, the Fat 60s, I've never heard anything but great tones from those things.
And significantly, I think they will be a significant step up from what's in the guitar currently.
Sure.
Yeah. Victor Gustafsson says, "Hi, gents. Le gents," he says. "What are your thoughts on the Fender 68 series reissues? What about a show on 65 versus 68? We've been asked so much for this.
Yeah, it's just getting, I mean, love to do it, just getting them.
Getting the amps, yeah. For those of you who don't know, the 65s are the blackface style ones. So they do a Princeton, well, they definitely do a Princeton, a deluxe reverb, and a twin, and a super reverb, actually. In sort of 65 spec blackface, called blackface because the control panel is black. CBS buys Fender in 65-ish. And then the amps slowly progressed to what we call Silverface, which is a silver control panel, and the circuits changed accordingly. Fender currently does 68 custom versions of most of those amps. I don't think there's a super, but there's certainly a Princeton, a deluxe. Actually, I don't think there's a twin either, but there's definitely a Princeton and a deluxe. By and large, I think less negative feedback, more mid-push.
Right.
So they sound a bit more urgent, a bit gainier.
Okay.
Really cool. In fact, in said acoustic session, which I've just done, we used a 68 custom Princeton, and it sounded flipping magic.
Wow.
So I think that would be a great show, but
Yeah.
we do need to do some pedal shows.
We do need to do some pedal shows.
Yeah.
Indeed.
John Masters, "Hi gents, no question. Thanks for all you do, making me spend money during lockdown. Mick, you need to organise a TPS ride out." That would be cool.
TPS. Oh, the bike with the bike. Yeah, yeah,
So,
nice.
that would be really cool. I was going to sell my bike actually, because I wasn't riding it, and I decided I wanted to free up the money to buy more guitars with. And Catherine's like, "Don't sell your bike. Bad idea.
Right.
Really bad idea. Don't sell it. You've got enough guitars."
But you've ridden it a bit lately, haven't you?
Yeah,
Last
yeah.
time I was here,
Well,
you
the reason I don't ride it is because we've got the dog,
Right.
and so she needs transportation, and that is a logistic issue.
Can you get us like a sidecar, put a little helmet on her?
Yeah.
And play like...
Jeez, Gromit.
There you go.
But she said, no, I'll drive the dog. You enjoy your bike, which has been really lovely, actually.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then it rained.
Do you, when you get in the bike and you turn the key, do you hear that? Hang on.
I do, every time.
Yeah, good.
It's very good for being in a moment, actually. You know, we talk a lot about...
You've got to, I imagine you have to be.
Well, you do, otherwise you fall off.
Yeah.
And I commentate my rides.
All right.
So as if I was an instructor. Because the
Oh,
other thing
wow.
I do every year is read the police riding manual.
Okay.
And I try and commentate my rides, and that keeps you in the moment.
Right.
And it's great because you can't think about anything else.
Okay.
It's really good for that.
Amazing. I'd mainly hum along to Pat Martino. And by the time I get home, I'm like, how did I get here?
If you hum along to Pat Martino while you're riding a motorcycle, you're in the hedge, mate. Pat Benatar, you might be all right.
There we go.
Noah Bottimer again. JHS recently had Brian Wampler on and discussed their entries to the pedal scene. What do you think of chatting with the DIY forefathers like R.G. Keane and Jack Orman?
I've been
who
trying to get in touch with
spawned-
R.G. Keane for ages. So he's a hero of mine, and I would love to get him on the show. If anyone knows how to get in touch with R.G. Keane,
Yeah.
please. He was in the early days, 2001, 2002, when I was first getting into stuff. He was so helpful. The guy's is the most amazing wealth of knowledge, and I would dearly love to do an interview with him. So if anyone knows how to get in touch with him, please let me know, because I'm in awe of the man.
It's probably about time, isn't it, that, you know, I can remember in my working lifetime going to NAMM and seeing guys like Josh JHS with like a trestle table stand
Oh yeah,
in the basement,
yeah, totally.
being these geeky dudes with weird t-shirts and trendy footwear. You know, and if you think about this, these early days of internet usage, it's culturally we were in a very different place.
Yeah.
You know, Starbucks hadn't done its giant expansion.
Yeah.
You know, it's culturally really super interesting. I think it's worth a look, because those people that inspired Josh and the Wamplers and the Keeleys of this world to get going, it's really worth a look.
Yeah,
Because
totally.
they, you know, with every respect to them, they are now boss.
Yeah.
I mean, not quite boss, but they are, you know, they are now mass manufacturers of product.
The thing is, it was so, like in those early days, and it was like, you know, not quite MS-DOS, but not far away. And there was nothing, like Mr. Keane, there's nothing in it for him.
Yeah.
He just did it because he was passionate about it, and like, do you guys understand how this works? And you'd be sat there on the computer, like chatting to him,
Yeah.
and being able to ask him questions, and he was so generous with his time and his thoughts and stuff, and I would love for more people to know about him, because he's a, you know, without him there'd be a whole bunch of builders that wouldn't
I think
exist
that could
now.
be an interesting bunch
be
of topics
wonderful.
for us to mind,
Yeah,
Daniel.
wonderful.
Yeah. Sub Rosa. I'm a sucker for vintage Fender custom colours. You can only have one for the rest of your life. Surf green, Fiesta red, Daphne blue, etc. What's yours?
Not what I mean. Well, yeah, but is that a custom? Is it a custom colour?
That's a custom colour.
Okay, then I'll have that one. Thank you.
Fiesta red, lucite, 50 something or other. I don't know what the actual number of
The
it is.
that candy apple red was a custom colour.
Yeah,
Wow, I did not know that.
yeah. You know, sunburst would be I'd have everything sunburst, but that wasn't a custom colour. So
Let's sunburst the wall.
it would be, controversially, see, I want to say Lake Placid blue,
Okay.
but I think I'm going to say Aztec gold.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
I remember in the '90s there was an Aztec Gold Strat at is it Doug's Guitars in Coogee. I remember it was $35,000 back in the '90s, and I think it was there was some Pink Floyd connection with it, but it was an original, like '50s gold Strat.
Yeah, man.
Unbelievable.
I get a bit confused. You've got Shoreline gold, Aztec gold, and the other gold. Aztec, Shoreline, and Fire Mist.
Wow.
Fire Mist? Something like that.
Okay.
Anyway. I too like vintage Fender custom colours. I do have a dream of having a house which is themed by custom colour in every room.
What happened to our Clonshake Mansion?
There it is. Silver on the outside,
Oh,
Lake Placid blue on the inside.
very good.
Perfect.
Okay.
Decisions, says Dave Oshman. Jason Isbell-Telly, Eastman SB55, which is a double cut Les Paul Jr. alike
Right.
with P90s, or an Eastman SB59, which is a Les Paul alike with. Oh, I mean, you're covering a lot of ground there.
Indeed.
You're saying, what shall I drink with dinner tonight? Shall I have a nice Sauvignon Blanc, or perhaps a Pinot Noir, or how about a Californian Cabernet Sauvignon?
Or a
is what-
Malbec.
is what you're saying there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of difference in what you're going for there.
Yeah.
I think it depends what you're going to have to eat.
Yeah. I love the cheaper chicken.
In which case, I will go with the Sauvignon, please.
Okay, very good.
Yep. Yeah. think he'd be pretty happy.
Yeah. They're
Go-
great guitars.
Go with a Junior. With
There you go.
P90s.
Yeah.
There you go. Have some fun.
Indeed.
Get your Johnny Thunders on. JP Delaney. Hi chaps, I recently bought a custom shop hardtail Strat in Sonic Blue. Right now, I'm deciding whether to buy a Harmonious Monk or a Bell and Howell amp. What are your thoughts? Ooh.
Boy, oh boy.
The latter is going to be utterly magic if you can make it work. Yeah. It's the film sound projector type amp is what he's referring to. Sorry, JP is referring to. That is without doubt going to give you the most pleasure.
Yeah.
But it is a pain in the butt to make it work and keep it working.
Quite fragile.
But for sure that's going to give you the most pleasure. The easier thing to live with is the Harmonious Monk. And Dan and I and all the people at Jam Pedals will be able to feed our children turkey this Christmas if you buy a Harmonious Monk.
Very good.
Get the Bell and Howard and go on an awesome Blake Mills inspired Sonic adventure.
Yeah, yeah. They're magic.
William Turner says, Dan, is it true you once built a pedal board for Gilmore? If so, did you get to see or feel his work, mate? I think it's a 57 Esquire. Best sounding telly I've ever heard.
Okay. I didn't build a board for him. I went and met Phil Taylor and got on board the Astoria, I think they call it, his studio, which is on the little boat that's moored to the...
On the Thames?
On the Thames, which was magic. But that didn't work out. But I've stayed in contact with Phil. He's great, and maybe one day I'll do something for him. But yeah, no, I didn't end up building a rig for him. But I did get to go and hang out. I didn't get to play any guitars, but I did get to go and be in the studio where the guitars were and where the where the control room is, and yeah, it was very cool.
Yeah, I don't know much about that 57 Esquire, whether it's a top loader or whether it's a...
No idea. I've seen him play it on when he was playing with Paul McCartney.
Yeah, he did with Mick. Which Mick was it? They did a rock and roll album, didn't they?
Yeah, it was very cool.
McCartney, Gilmore, and Mick. Oh God, forgive me. Give me. Mick Green. Sorry, it was Mick Green. They did a record. Yeah, and he used it on that.
Yep.
Stevie Boy 444 says, a Roland JC40 is a stereo amp.
Yes.
If I use two of them as stereo wet amps in a wet dry wet rig,
Stereo.
do you think it would sound bigger or would it just cause problems? So, two Roland JC40s and a dry amp, wet dry wet.
Well, the really cool thing, if you're using the modulation from the stereo amplifiers, is that you're going to get this amazing sort of phasey relationship between the modulation of those two wet amplifiers. They sound great, and then you have your dry amp in the middle. The only issue you're going to run across with that, as long as you're not miking them, you're golden. If you are miking them, you need 5 mics in that setup to get it to work. And then it's how you pan everything. So you will have to have, in the JC40, basically it's a stereo amplifier, but the modulation is only happening in one speaker, a la C1, and then the direct sound is happening in the other speaker. So the modulated speakers are going to have to be left and right. The dry sound, you could put the dry sound and the center amplifier down the middle. But yeah, you will need, to get that sound all happening, you're going to need 5 mics to do it. And that in itself causes issues with phase and that sort of stuff, using different mics. You've got to make you got to really watch your miking technique with that stuff, make sure that all the mics are equidistant from the speaker. Yeah. It would sound epic done right. It's a lot of faffing about, but if you've got 5 spare channels just for the guitar mic, or just for the amp mics, awesome.
There we are. I was just doing a bit of research on the next question, Dan.
Okay.
Which is from Brian Garcia. Hi, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
He says, Friday's show has turned out to be an expensive one for me. I've decided to build a double-bound metallic purple T-style. Wish me luck. What are your thoughts on the grease bucket tone circuit for a telly? The grease bucket tone circuit for telly was actually in my Highway 1 Texas telly.
Really?
Yeah, right. So apparently in a standard tone control, it bleeds treble to ground. We know that.
Yep.
Fender's description of it said that the grease bucket bleeds off the treble without adding bass. Now, of course, no bass is added when you bleed off the treble. It just becomes more obvious because the treble isn't there.
Right.
So what the grease bucket did apparently was roll off the bass a bit as well. So
okay.
Sounds a bit like the equivalent of a sort of bass treble bleed.
Interesting.
But essentially, you turn the tone control down.
And it filters a little bit of the bottom end
And it
as
filters
well.
the bottom end and the top end, so it helps you stay a bit cleaner.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. There have been a few more modern guitars that include those sorts of features. I think Reverend guitars for ages had that.
Right.
They have like a tone control that rolls off bottom end as well.
Yeah. I've seen
And I
those.
think some of the Fret King guitars might have had it. So, yeah, so exactly that. You can just thin out the sound and make it less bright, but also make it less, so it doesn't get woofy.
Yeah.
One of the problems with vintage single coil type guitars and a passive tone control network is that it can get very woofy very quickly. So if you just want to thin it out and get quieter,
Yeah.
yeah,
Cool.
try it. It's a pretty easy mod, I think. It's just another capacitor.
It's a couple, I think.
And a resistor.
Yeah.
2 capacitors
Yeah.
and a resistor.
Yeah.
There you go. Easy peasy, he said. Good luck. Chris Nolter. Hello from Washington, D.C. Hello, Washington,
Hey.
D.C. Aside from the fuzz face, are there fuzz pedals that clean up especially well with single coils? Does germanium and silicon make a difference? Apologies if I've missed a video on this. Cheers, Chris.
There are loads. What you're looking for mainly is the input impedance. It's really interesting. I noticed, I heard this overdrive pedal from the guy with the colourful baggy pants that we saw in Germany. Oh, come on.
Colourful baggy pants.
Yes.
Robin trousers.
No, Rob, it'll come to me in a minute. He was hanging out with Matt Schofield and us in Germany. Where
What?
Tom Ann, amp builder, pedal builder.
Sorry, Harry
Harry
from Mad Professor.
Mad Professor, there he is.
Sorry, I was in a different mode there.
And he had this overdrive pedal, and it was amazing. But the cleanup was extraordinary.
Yeah.
And I had a look at the input impedance.
Yeah.
It was like 400k or something. I'm like, okay, well there it is.
So you need a low input impedance.
You need lower.
Lower.
The thing about the fuzz pedals is that relationship between the inductance of the coils of here and the volume pot and the impedance of the actual circuit, the transistors. And what I found is a lot of these pedals that have got the lower input impedance into the circuit, they've got this amazing cleanup ability.
So if you took a tone bender then and you dropped the input impedance, would it clean up better?
Not necessarily. Because by dropping the input impedance, you are vastly changing the way that the pedal sounds. And you probably find that you would get to that sound anyway when you
Right.
roll off the volume. So it's designed to sound a certain way at a certain input impedance.
Just pouring custard on your steak doesn't make it a pudding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really that. So it's all impedances, those relationships. It's such an important thing when it comes to gain staging and understanding, getting those sorts of sounds. Yeah.
Interesting. So in my experience, fuzz faces have always done it best. Silicon germanium doesn't make any difference. The best one that I've got for cleanup is a silicon one.
Yeah.
And I think there are people who say germanium cleans up better, so it depends on the rest of the pedal, really.
Totally.
Plus, if you look at what Mike Analog Man does to his Sun faces, with, well, two things: A, the bias control, and B, the input resistor.
Exactly.
That makes a big difference too. So,
yeah, well, that input resistor is adding more impedance at the input.
there we are then.
And yeah, amazing.
Yeah. And of course the amp.
Of course, the amp.
Of course the amp. Chris Groom, hello Chris. And Chris, thank you for your incredible generosity. That is really super generous.
Oh, I saw
of
that,
you.
Chris. Unbelievable. Thank you, mate.
He says, hi Mick, hi Dan, great show on tellies. Little bit of trivia. The only electric guitar that Mike Oldfield played on Tubular Bells was a telly.
No.
A natural one.
Really?
Yeah, well.
That's amazing. We rewatched the opening of the London Olympics. Liv had it on. And Mike Oldfield was there, playing a PRS, doing his thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that album, that was Virgin's first release.
Really?
Yeah. And, incredibly successful. And you think about the orchestration and the arrangements and the melodies and that thing is just incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Very nice. Very nice. Ian Fan. Hello, Ian. He says, I recently got a Vintera 1950s telly. I noticed a big difference in output between it and my Mexican Strat. The Strat is louder.
Wow.
Any easy ways to close the dB gap? That doesn't sound right, actually,
No,
Ian.
I thought it was going to be the other way around.
That telly should kick harder than the Strat, unless your Strat's got some sort of beefed up pickup in it.
Yeah.
That telly should be every bit as beefy as the Strat.
Check the distance
and then
from
some.
the pickup to the strings.
Yeah, you might want
the
to raise the bridge pickup.
Yeah.
Just double check all the wiring. If you don't know how to do that, look up a wiring diagram.
Start with.
I don't know on the Vinteras. When I redid the pickup in that Mexican standard,
Right.
they've got this really convoluted grounding system that comes off the ground wire, attaches to
a spring or something in there.
Attaches to a little metal plate that then goes off on another wire to the bridge, and it's like, oh man, too complex.
Sure.
But yeah, do check that. It doesn't sound right.
No.
That doesn't sound right.
Yeah. Just try getting the bridge pickup a little bit closer, and if you can balance it up, then balance the bridge with the neck pickup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Craig Montgomery. Thank you, Craig, for your generosity.
Thanks,
he says, I did a gig in New York City last weekend. The sound desk sported a sign that read, "We're not happy until you're happy. Wind it up."
Oh, no. So tell us where that gig is and we're going to come over and play it.
Yeah.
Have you ever done a gig in New York? Have you ever played in New York?
Have I ever played in New York? No, I haven't.
Oh, I'd love to play in New York. Just to be able to say I played in New York. I love New York.
Yeah. George, remember we saw Andy Timmins there?
Oh, man.
It was a magic night.
That was just...
It was a magic night. Anyway.
Wow.
Travis Crown. Oh, Travis. He says, Mick, I owe you an apology. I was a swear word slag towards you on your Isbell Telly show in the comments. PTSD gets the best of me sometimes. You are a wonderful man and human being. TPS has helped me tremendously. Much love. Travis, thank you for that. Thank you. Genuinely, thank you. I don't necessarily remember. I do remember, well, Dan and I talk about this quite frequently, where the comments section can be an adversarial place. And it's a combination of us being a bit sensitive to what people say and people saying stuff either they haven't thought through, or it's an outlet of some other anger. And in your case, if it is PTSD, I'm really sorry to hear about that, because PTSD. We're just learning about PTSD. It's not only army veterans that have PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
It's all kinds of emotional and psychological problems that cause and increase PTSD. So, in all honesty, Travis, thank you honestly for the apology. We sort of learn in the good moments. We learn to take it for what it is. And it's very rare that anyone says anything and actually means it when it's nasty. It's usually an outpouring of some sort of anger in some other direction. And without wishing to be too hippie about it, I would much rather it was outpoured at us via a comments section than outpoured in some other more damaging way. So if it helps sometimes, then that's a good thing. So thank you for the apology. It means a great deal that you even think about it. And we hope you're doing okay.
Yeah, mate. Hope you're doing okay.
Dan and I both, have and do have some mental health issues. And so we feel it. We know we get it. So, all the best to you. And thank you for your generosity. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
G Barge, hello
Hey,
G.
G.
He says, leg ends, I'm elbows deep in broken irrigation pipe. And there's nary a telly or amp at the bottom of the hole. Here's an offering for the tone gods. Wishing you a successful conclusion. Cheers, guys. Thank you, G.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you so much. Irrigation pipe, wow. Victor Eduardo Lopez. Hello, Victor. He says, hi, DNM. I'm very connected to my Telecaster. The only thing I don't like is the maple fingerboard. Not how it feels, but how it looks.
Oh, wow.
Should I change to a rosewood one or just live with it? The great thing, Victor, when you're playing the guitar is you don't have to look at the fingerboard. It faces the chumps watching you.
Yeah.
It faces the idiot stupid enough to pay to come to your gig. It's a joke. Just in case you're wondering, it's a joke. Aesthetics is a big thing, isn't it?
It's a big thing. So Mick's rule of buying a guitar is what it looks like, and what it looks like. And I'm inclined to agree. If you're not happy with the way the guitar looks, I remember for ages and ages, this guitar had, and it's still, when you compare it to the 65 or basically any of Mick's guitars, the fingerboard was very light. Used to drive me nuts because I wanted
A dark fingerboard.
I wanted a dark fingerboard. And I got this thing. I was like, you see this? It had this one dark seam. I'll bring it up so you can see it. You'll see there's a dark seam that runs. There it is. See there? Up the fingerboard. I wanted the whole fingerboard that colour. But, and it has darkened up after, years and years and years of playing, but it was really light and I was really unhappy with it. Sounded amazing. Didn't care.
Yeah,
Wanted this darker.
Victor, if you're connected to the guitar, don't change it, because if you replace the neck, for example, it will change the sound of the guitar.
Totally.
Not necessarily because it's rosewood, although that will have an effect, but because it's a different neck. And it will have an effect. So, yeah, I don't know. I'd maybe learn to love it.
Yeah.
If it's finished, if it's lacquered, it's never going to change colour.
No.
If it's not lacquered or the lacquer is wearing off, it will change colour the more you play it.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Dangerous to change a guitar you're connected with.
Totally.
Simon Hosford. Just a quick hello from Melbourne, Australia. Thank you, Nick
hey,
and Dan.
Simon.
Hello to Melbourne. Chuck D is on again.
Hey, Chuck.
Fight the power. He says, hi from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Oh, we've had this question. Is a T-Type OD a good choice for a basement amp? Yeah, we talked about this earlier, Chuck, and we concluded that the Way Huge Green Rhino is what you need.
Yep.
So, there we are. Once again, Dan, we've gone way over time.
It's all right. We got through it. It's awesome.
We did.
Thank you, everyone. I mean, we've had 1,000+ people on for most of that. That was that you guys would choose to come and hang out with us on a Monday night is humbling beyond words, and we are so grateful to all of you for doing that. If you haven't subscribed to the show, please subscribe. Massive thank you to BV for being an absolute superstar. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, BV. We'll finish up with a few of final comments here.
Okay.
Average Aardvark says, "Hey guys, I just shaved an arm contour into my telly. Will I be struck with lightning for my heresy?"
I wouldn't go outside in overcast weather for a little while. But apart from that, I think you should be okay.
I see your telly arm contour, and I raise you. A friend of mine, although I don't see him very much, so it would be a bit much to call him a friend, even though I am very friendly with him, a guy called Piers Mortimer. Piers has played in a few great bands over the years, and Piers is the son of the managing director of PRS Europe, who is also a great friend of mine.
Oh, wow.
Piers, being the son of the managing director of PRS Guitars Europe, shaves forearm contours into his PRSs. Or at least did it on two guitars that I know
Oh
of.
my goodness.
So, yeah.
Wow.
Made me laugh.
How? Did he do it himself?
Oh, yeah. Is there any other way to do it? I hope he did it with a surf form. But he won't have done. JM Page, any plans on using the Jazzmaster again? Or doing a Jag Mustang sort of thing? Possibly. Simon put flat wounds on it and I find it truly hateful. So I need to get the flat wounds off it.
And yet the flat wounds went on the Jag and now I love it.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Some people love flat.
Yeah.
They really love them, but I need like twang. And
It's
twang.
transformed that guitar for me though.
Yeah.
Really, really like it
So
now.
I need to get it back to... I keep saying I'm going to put some new pickups in it because they are a bit brittle sounding, those ones. Get some Novak ones or
Right.
something. Yet another bottomless pit of modding for guitars I never
Indeed.
play. But yeah, every time I listen to Michael Landau, I want to play my Jazzmaster more. I know he records a lot with his. It's like, yeah. And finally, Marco says, have you tried the new Pro 2 lineup? I'm assuming you mean the American Pro 2 lineup. I recently got a telly and I love it. Fender. Funnily enough, out there in a box, I've got the American Pro 2 Strat, which we asked Fender to send in because after we did the Strat video recently, he had loads of requests saying, please can you do a setup video on Strat Trems? I thought,
cool.
yes, I can. But it wouldn't be complete without doing a 2.1, so they very kindly sent one in. So I'm looking forward to having a go with that.
Brilliant.
Given that it's everything I don't like about Strats.
Yeah, right.
And
It's a great vlog though.
I hope to prove all those things entirely wrong.
Yes. I'm filming a vlog this week.
Are you? What are you filming?
Something very special.
Does it include beach volleyball and a bikini, Dan?
No. I saw this amazing volleyball video today. This guy playing beach volleyball with his dog. The ball would come over the net, the dog would jump, hit it up, and the guy would spike it.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. But no, my video contains none of that. But it's a pedalboard building vlog for someone very cool.
So it is. Bev, thank you. He says, Jeff McCurlin's been on the chat tonight. Hello, Jeff.
Hey, Jeff.
He says he just played at the bitter end of New York City. He just invited you both to join him there.
Yes, come on, come on.
Well, thank you, BV, and thank you, Jeff. That would be a truly wonderful thing to do.
All right, awesome.
We're doing it. Thank you, everyone.
Yep. Stellar as always.
It is a trip
Yeah, it's great.
that you join us
Yep,
and enjoy this tomfoolery
indeed.
as we do. So there might be a light show on Friday
Yeah.
where we're going to sort of do, it'll be a kind of TPS schools out summer recess silliness
Yeah.
adventure.
Yeah. Maybe we can have some I don't
Norwegian
know.
beach volleyball players.
Let's turn up in our volleyball outfits. On that note, thanks everyone.
By the way, we wholly support the Norwegian beach volleyball players, just in case that was misconstrued in any way whatsoever. Respect Norwegian beach volleyball players.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. Cheerio!
Bye.
Play us out, Dan.